My man, we're back.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes. You got that, huh?
Yeah, what's going on?
Not much. Keeping busy. I know you've been busy too. It's
I've been
just,
busy. Yeah. A lot of
yeah,
travel for work.
things are picking up, you know? It's that time of year, right?
Yeah, exactly. Shouldn't be picking up. So, all right, dude. What are we doing tonight?
So, this is part two of three of our Hammer horror discussion. We were absent for a few weeks, a little longer than we hoped for and anticipated,
My
but
fault.
also I've been busy as well. Things have really picked up and got a lot of stuff going on. But happy to be back and happy to be talking about four of the films that I picked for this show tonight. An interesting mix of different eras, sometimes different genres. Apparently, I
It's a
misremembered.
grab bag.
I
It's a
sort of
total grab bag.
misremembered
Yeah.
what it was. Probably been like over 10 years, so I hadn't remembered that it's not quite a horror movie, but and I threw Captain Clegg out of the running because I was like, I watched it and I'm like, oh, this is not a horror movie. But there's definitely way more horror in that than there is in She. But She's still a fun movie and a good movie nonetheless. But so tonight we are going to be talking about four Hammer films. And we will be talking about The Mummy, 1959, which is a bona fide classic of horror cinema. We will be talking about Taste the Blood of Dracula, one of the many sequels of the Christopher Lee Dracula series. I don't know how you would describe this, kind of like a mystery gothic thriller, Shadow of the Cat, which kind of has
Yep.
a more camp tone to it. And then finally, as I mentioned, She, which is a more like a what do you call that? Like a treasure.
Swashbuckling adventure.
I don't know if I call it swashbuckling, but it's like sort of like an epic treasure hunt, kind of like Lost City ruins
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah. Okay. A little bit of like British colonial fiction in there too. Like, you ever heard
Definitely.
of Flashman?
I've not.
It's like a
What's
series about
that?
a guy who's really cool who fought in the Boer War. It's like the whole
Okay.
thing, just about how cool he is. Okay. Well, we're starting with the Mummy first, right?
I think so. I think that would be a good place to start.
And I guess the natural question for me would be, what made you want to pick the Mummy?
Well, The Mummy is one of the, as I said, it's one of the bona fide classics of Hammer and
Yeah.
of horror cinema of this time. When you look back at what are the classic monsters that you think of when you think of Halloween and monsterdom? You're thinking of Dracula, the Frankenstein monster, the Wolfman, and the Mummy is going to naturally be thrown in there as well. And Universal defined what it meant to make a mummy movie in the 30s and 40s. This movie very much apes on on those tropes and those ideas, and kind of like congeals it and meshes it into like one unified like movie, which is very interesting.
I really liked it. The question I guess I would have about the Mummy, where I think it veers off from, it's one thing for Hammer to make a remake of Dracula. Well, it's a book, and it's basically a character that's almost in the public domain. Basically, at this, I mean, it is now. I don't know if it was back then, probably, um, or to do a werewolf movie, or to do a Frankenstein, right? But when it comes down to the idea of the Mummy as a seminal character in like horror film, um, don't you just have to give it up to Universal for coming up with the Mummy?
They did. I think
Yeah.
if I recall correctly, Bram Stoker did do a novelization of a mummy type story, and I think they
Okay.
used that like as The Awakening. They made that movie The Awakening like in 1980, which was with Charlton Heston, which is like
I want to watch that really bad. I've never seen it.
it's good. It's good.
Okay.
I feel like that's one of the last big movies that he did. It's I can't really think of much that he did in like the 80s after that, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, he did the Kenneth Branagh Hamlet. That's the
Okay.
first thing that's coming to my mind. Who directed that movie? Mike Newell. Yeah,
I don't remember.
he did a
So
bunch of stuff. He did
I'll
like
take
Four
your word
Weddings and
for
a Funeral. It was like his first movie. He did Harry Potter 4.
it. Really? Oh.
He was a very well thought of British sort of director of comedies of manners that were so successful they started giving him blockbusters. Donnie Brasco, he did. Yeah, it was his
Oh,
first movie.
didn't
Yeah.
know that. Yeah, so I mean, other than that, Universal really did create the idea of adding the mummy to the mythology of monster movies and all that, which is very interesting. Like, we were talking about the backstory of this movie in particular, because in the last video, we talked about how much Universal threw a monkey wrench into Hammer's production of The Curse of Frankenstein, and how, you know, we don't want you using anything that we created in your movie, excuse me. And like, basically, like, don't take anything we did, otherwise we're going to sue you into oblivion. Now, for this movie, it's quite the opposite. And it's kind of confusing, because if you watch the movie today, it's distributed by Warner Brothers. They own the rights to this movie nowadays, and they add on that, like, very tacky and off-putting Warner Brothers logo at the beginning. It says like an AOL Time Warner Company or something like that. But apparently Universal was involved in the international distribution of this movie back in the original release, and they gave the go-ahead and approval to say, take our idea and like run with it.
They kind of licensed it to him. It's like, hey, if you think you can make money with this mummy idea, go for it. Right.
Precisely.
I'm going to play the trailer of the mummy for the benefit of the audience here.
Egypt, 4,000 years ago. A land of strange rituals and savage cruelty. Many of their secrets are still hidden from the eyes of 20th century man. Secrets that protect their dead. Supernatural powers that, once released, can live again in our modern world.
So, yeah, I have to say, by looking at this trailer, The Mummy, it's probably one of the best looking Hammer films, in my opinion, from a cinematography perspective. I mentioned to you, we were having a conversation about this, about how it's like the only Hammer movie where there are not day for night sequences. They actually do film night scenes at night, and they spend a lot of time on the sound stages that are, you know, set up beautifully just at dusk, right, with their backgrounds. It's a spectacular looking film, and I think you can see from this trailer too how cool Christopher Lee's mummy makeup is.
Yes, it's quite good. It's I mean, just the levels of like dirt and grime and filth that he's covered. I mean, this monster comes out of the marshes, he comes out of the swamps, he comes out of the desert. He's a ferocious and disgusting looking monster, and it looks great. It captures really well.
And the story, go ahead.
Sure. No, go ahead. I was just going to say, like, how much this takes from the original Universal movies, but also just maximizes what year we're in at this point. Like, we're in 1959. We're no longer in the 1930s and 40s. So the violence is definitely amped up to a different degree that you never saw in a Universal movie. I mean, that's a given, but it really makes an impact on how dangerous this monster is compared to any other movie that you'd seen a character like this in before.
He really does look freakish. And you know, unfortunately, Christopher Lee gets to play the, you know, high priest of Egypt or whatever, who desecrated the tomb of his beloved princess Ananka, who died, right? But for the most part, he gets, I was telling you, Christopher Lee gets saddled, unfortunately, with having to be like the heavy in every one of these movies. Cushing gets to be like the refined English gentleman professor, badass with a shotgun all the time, you know, tweed suit, vest. But Christopher Lee's always has to be like I hesitate to say that, the monster, always.
Yeah, Peter Cushing never played like he plays a monster in Frankenstein, a different type of monster, but not a makeup-laden monster.
No. Christopher Lee, poor Christopher Lee, he was cast as villain so much, which is why I'm very excited to watch Devil Rides Out next week, I believe, when we do that, because it's the one Hammer film, I believe, where he gets to play the hero.
Okay. And yes, I'm very excited to watch that as well.
Terrific in it, right?
This was apparently a very brutal. If you read the article in the Hammer book, this was a brutal shoot for him. I mean, just from a physical point of view, you saw him carrying.
They throw him in a swamp.
Yes, I think he threw his back out doing that multiple times. You know, plus getting into all that heavy makeup. You got to give the guy credit. I mean, he did not get get his due for that.
No, but it's an effective movie. It they do a lot with their budget. There's a portion in the extended flashback sequence about the origin of the mummy where they have like this elaborate funeral procession coming through. Where I mean, they went all out on that, right?
Yeah.
Had a backlot little set, and they pull the sarcophagus on a sled, and then there's like 2 cows and a little. I mean, it's really incredible. It's a great looking movie. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was excellent, and I mean, I really
it's
liked.
definitely top tier. It's definitely top tier of the Hammer. And think about
100%.
just how lavish this looks compared to something like Curse of Frankenstein, which great movie, but very evident of its limited budget and limited raw materials. This, they're clearly working with a much larger amount of money that they can throw around, and it looks really nice.
This was directed by Terrence Fisher, the boss for Hammer, who just basically did it all. I mean, this guy built, he did all the classic movies.
Yes.
But you know what else I really liked? The things that struck me that I enjoyed about it were, I liked Peter Cushing's performance. I liked his relationship with his father, which is kind of he goes to visit him in the nursing home, and he's babbling about the mummy. He's had visions that the mummy's going to come back because they disturbed the tomb, obviously, right? And when he's talking about his leg that's limping, right? Oh, I should have gotten it. I thought that sort of moment was really nice. And then when his father is killed in a really effective scene, which you saw in the trailer, where the mummy crashes through the egress window and tears through the bars and comes down and chokes him to death, which is kind of the mummy's preferred method of murder.
Well, the mummy has always been a big fan of strangulation. If you go back to the Universal movies, he is a big fan of strangling. That's his preferred method of killing.
How else? He doesn't have a weapon. He's going to hit him with like a little
brute force. So that's how he always did his victims in the at least in the sequel movies. The original Karloff mummy is a very different animal entirely. But
how does this stack up to the Universal series? And tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so it's a very interesting series because it's like a series, but it's not. So the Karloff original one, I think it's like 1932. Karl Freund directed that one, and that's like, I always think of it like as another version of Dracula. It's like the same story over again, including some of the same actors. But anyway, it's like the mummy, and there's a distinction between who the mummy and the princess are, and they're different names and different kind of story. So in that one, it's Imhotep. Karloff plays Imhotep, who's who was the high priest, who, like the mummy in this movie, is Karis. Karis was the name of the mummy in the subsequent sequel films of the Universal series. Okay, so there's Imhotep and Karis. So Imhotep and Karis both were the high priests in ancient Egypt. They both served a princess, different names. The original one is called Ankhsenamen, or as Karloff likes to call her in that movie, the Princess Ankhsenamen. Sorry, that's how he says it. And I love that. I love that in that movie. And then Ananka in the later ones. The original movie is he's brought back to life when they find him in the tomb. They read from the Scroll of Thoth, which is like the Scroll of Life in this movie, which is featured. And he comes back to life, and his mission is to find the reincarnation of the princess. And he finds that in Zita Johann. And he tries to reincarnate her as the princess. And he only kills people who get in his way in that movie, more or less. In the sequel films, it's Karis. It's the same backstory. They just co-opt it. They even reuse the same footage. And they include the scenes where he gets his tongue cut out. That's all directly lifted from the Universal movie, including the murder of the people who build the tomb and all that. And now, though Karis is commanded, he is like a servant of like a high Egyptian priest, which we see in this movie. Usually in the old ones, it was like George Zuko or Turhan Bey or somebody like that, controlling the mummy and telling him, kill the people who desecrated the tomb of Ananka. And that's where this movie kind of like mixes and matches all of that and kind of congeals it into one like thing. Got it.
How many mummy movies did Universal make?
I think 5, if I recall correctly.
Okay.
And not including Abbott and Costello.
Right. So I've seen The Mummy, the original, but it's been a long time. If I'm not wrong, Karloff is able to present as like a regular guy
Yes.
He like comes back to life. He's not a mummy for very long.
No, just that
They
opening scene, and then he
Yeah.
goes by Ardith Bay
Got it.
the rest of the movie.
So the character with the fez, who is the, he's the last disciple of the secret society, the last guy who cares about the dead gods. They kind of reminded me of the Indiana Jones fez guys from Last Crusade. Right?
Oh, okay. Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, we're defending the relics of old against, people
The
encroaching
infidels.
from the new
Yeah.
world. Right.
Yeah.
That guy kind of plays that role.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you
Very
say?
much. Yeah,
And-
for sure. And that's again just like the George Zuko or Turhan. Even the character's name, I think last name is Bay in the movie. It's kind of like, well, Turhan Bay was one of the actors who played that role in the original ones. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but
okay,
it's just something interesting. The other thing I really like in this movie, as you mentioned, is the I'm sorry to say, the kill scenes are quite good for a 1950 horror movie.
the squibs when he shoots the mummy and he explodes and it just stabs him, and it's like a figure of dust. He just like lumbering through. I thought that was terrific.
And the brutality of the mummy. For instance, you mentioned the insane asylum murder scene, which is shocking. I mean, to see him crawl into the thing, and he's in the padded room. Peter Cushing's father's in the padded room for his own protection because they think he's a suicide risk because he's mumbling about all this stuff. And there's one window at the top that has bars, bolted down to anybody can't get in. The mummy pries all that off, crashes through the window, goes in and strangles him, and then just walks and then crawls out again.
And I wondered if they didn't show him crawling out again, but I was curious.
He had to. He didn't open the door, I don't think.
If we called upon some mummy magic to fly through, but no, it's a really good looking movie. I think about when they walk into the tomb and there's that like green lighting. It's non-motivated lighting. It doesn't make sense. Like, where's that green light coming from? But that's fine. I like that kind of stuff. These Hammer movies, you know what I mean? Where it's giving you the sense of eeriness. They open up the tomb, which is kind of like a wine cabinet where they just kind of open it up and it's like into another room, which is slightly, I mean, I hope you don't mind it when I make fun of these movies a little bit. No, but it's always with love. It's always with love because these are.
No, I completely understand. Yeah, I'm definitely Shadow the Cat will be doing that a lot, myself included.
Do you think so? Okay, that's interesting. No, but no, this is.
Well, I will. I'll be doing it in a nice way. I hope you will too. But
this was a kick-ass one, but you know what? It's like they had the formula so down by this point, where it's like Peter Cushing is our. I wouldn't say everyman, but sort of aristocratic British character.
Mm-hmm.
And then Christopher Lee is our, I hate to say it, but he's always sort of like ethnic. He can be any race that they want him to be all the time.
Yes.
Right. Anything, slash monster. And I did feel bad for him lumbering around in that fucking mummy deal. And I'm like, is that Christopher? I mean, it had to have been, right? I'm like, they made that poor bastard dress up in his mummy suit.
I'm sure
he does kind of look
stunt double at some point, but I mean, for the most part, you're getting billed as the monster. I mean, that's your job, right?
Well, and I liked how they defeated the mummy by just trapping him in a swamp and just repeatedly shooting him until he just died or just, was no longer functional. But he does kind of look like Swamp Thing a little bit, partly because he comes out of the swamp, but they also give him this sort of like extended like brow that's like formed off here at his eyebrows, which kind of made him look like Swamp Thing to me. But wasn't a huge fan of that trope of, my girlfriend, you look just like the ancient goddess, of old. Like, wow. And then her powerful stare stays the mummy and stops him from committing violence. Right.
But that's part of the mummy mythology that they're using as the basis for all this. That goes from the Universal, original film. So that's part. You can't do a mummy movie without doing that. It's like, otherwise you get Tom Cruise. Otherwise, you get the Tom Cruise mummy, which I don't even remember what that.
Did you see it?
Yeah, I did. I don't remember anything about it other than her walking through London.
How about some of the other Dark Universe movies? Did you enjoy those?
Oh, those didn't get made.
Yeah, they never happened. But the great.
I love how they took productions. They took promotional photos for movies that never even got off the ground.
Yeah, with like Johnny Depp and Javier Bardem.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, it was a valiant effort, but I don't know. Do you think an idea like that could have worked?
Well, yes, but not applied in that method. These are not, and this is the fundamental flaw in that strategy, is that the Universal monsters are not action stars. They are not superheroes. They can be in a somewhat like analogous way, but you have to make it primarily a horror movie first and not an action blockbuster. I mean, that's not what these are. Dracula, Frankenstein, The Mummy, these are not action blockbusters. These are horror movies that can overlap and certainly cross over, and you can make them, you can have action in them, but they need to employ these, the I guess the veneer or the atmosphere of what you would expect from a horror movie. So there needs to be some kind of gothic atmosphere. They need to be set in old times. They can't be set in the modern era. You can't be doing Tom Cruise skydiving out of a plane. It's like, well, what does this have to do with anything?
We got Trembling Colors in here in the chat.
Yes.
Yeah, this is a point I totally agree with. He says also, unlike the 30s Universal Mummy, we get the mummy doing shit instead of the mummy turning into just some dude.
Yes.
That was a big letdown for me when I first watched The Mummy. I thought I was going to see a mummy, and it was just a guy who was kind of a Dracula guy.
Yes.
He was just kind of like a mesmerizing.
The Karloff Mummy is like a love story more than anything else. It's a really weird movie. It took me many, many, many viewings before it really grew on me and became like a personal favorite. When I was a kid, I used to be so bored by it. And I would want to watch the 40s sequels, which are like akin to like a prototypical slasher movie, because it's the mummy going around and just murdering people, strangling them. He's a slow walking killer who stalks his prey and just strangles them, at the behest of the priest,
Well, this movie's kind of like that, but it's got some class.
Yeah.
It has I thought an incredibly long flashback sequence, but when you spend all that money doing all the ancient Egypt shit, you might as well do that,
And also that gives Christopher Lee something to actually do and say. He actually gets to play the high priest. Yes. But at least you get to see him. He gets his face seen on camera. He's not just playing the mummy monster. Like in Frankenstein, you never get to see him at all. He's just hidden behind the makeup. But yeah, I mean, I really like this one. I think it's it's one of those movies that we were talking about in the past about if you're introducing someone to Hammer, which movie would you recommend that they watch first? And we talked about Curse of Frankenstein definitely being one of those, but I think The Mummy is also one that I would put at the top of the list to say, watch this, because it's stunning for a movie from 1959 to do what they do here. It's very, I mean, I remember the first time I saw this, we talked about the mental institute scene, but the scene that stood out for me the most when I saw this for the first time years and years ago is when he's in the study. Peter Cushing is in the study, and the mummy just bursts through the door like a freaking explosion. Like he just, and it's like, whoa, okay, how did he do that? Like,
no, it's incredible. I'm gonna play that again in the trailer. I'm gonna find the spot here because it is super cool, and I mean, when was the first use of a squib on a body in films, right? Where they shot somebody and there was a visible explosion and they didn't just kind of fall down and go, ugh, right?
I don't know.
I mean, it's pretty, here he is breaking into the old man's cell. Shot.
I know. Isn't that terrible? They show that in the trailer. Like
they show like almost all, they show a lot of the really good stuff here in the trailer.
This is why I hate old trailers. Like, love old movies, but old trailers are, look at that. Look at that. Freaking destroying that window.
Well, that's insane.
Yeah. And it's got smoke coming out of it.
Oh my god! Yeah. Wow. Oh, I look like the Egyptian queen.
Yes, of course.
Look at it! What a cool design for that mummy. It's really interesting because I had this. I thought they had to change everything about Dracula to avoid being sued, but for this, they licensed it to them. Yeah. So this just shows you the faith that the American studios had in these monster movies at the time. And I know Martin Scorsese talks very fondly about Hammer in our big book that we both have. He writes the foreword.
Okay.
Right? Because because these movies had a profound effect on him. He said that him and all his friends would go see them. I mean, they weren't hits, but with a certain specific demographic, like it was filling the need for this kind of thing that the American studios just weren't giving people.
I wonder if he would say the same thing today.
Who, Scorsese?
About if these kind of movies were being made today.
I don't.
Probably
Good
not.
question.
That's interesting.
Would he be a fan of the Dark Universe? I don't think so.
I don't think. Well, you would never compare the Dark Universe to these movies. The Dark Universe is going to be trash. Okay.
Exactly.
I actually did enjoy that Tom Cruise. I'm sorry, I'm ashamed to say I did enjoy the Tom Cruise Mummy when I saw it, but it's trash. I mean, it's just watchable garbage, you know.
Trembling Color says it's weird that Coppola used the reincarnated lost love thing from the Mummy and used it in his Dracula. That movie can do no wrong in my eyes. It's one of my favorite movies ever. I love that movie to death. That doesn't bother me because I believe that like Winona Ryder is so hot in that film, like you'd find a reason, you know.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that movie as well. It's pretty remarkable.
I think it's spectacular. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just very visually stunning and unlike anything you'd ever seen before for Dracula, which was how would you expect that to happen? I mean, we've seen so many Dracula movies up until that point, and then here he comes and does something totally brand new that's authentic to the to whatever came before, as well, as well as the novel. But
it's got the feeling of like reading a novel. I love the production design. I love all his little visual trickery in the movie. I think Keanu Reeves is good in it. Sorry.
Love Keanu. I mean, John Wick, you know.
I've seen many strange things since I've been here, Count. Right? I love that movie. What do you think? Any more notes on the Mummy?
Not that I can think of. Just beautiful poster art, by the way. I think that's like the top Hammer posters. It's the Mummy going through the marshlands, and they're shining like a flashlight through him, and the light just like goes through because he's got holes and pores, pieces missing throughout his torso. But very good. Yeah, no, I mean, sorry, go ahead.
The Hammer posters, I don't think were ever really all that great.
No, they're not actually.
They're really not.
This is one of the best.
Yeah.
And they get really
Curse of the Werewolf.
Like Curse of the Werewolf is a really, really good poster. Yeah.
That's a good poster. But yeah, there were a lot that just weren't. And you know what? I have to say, I think in the 50s, they were going through a weird time with posters because in America, all the rage was Saul Bass style posters, that minimalist stuff like Anatomy of a Murder, Exodus, North by Northwest, Vertigo. Those like minimal. That was kind of the cool thing to do. And the painted 40s posters were kind of on the way out. Yeah, they're not many. The Devil Rides Out's a great poster, but that was kind of getting into the mid 60s. So you're getting a little more pop art, psychedelic shit thrown in there.
Yeah.
All right, brother, what's next?
Okay, I think next we're going to do Taste the Blood of Dracula.
Yes. Should I start with clip? Let's set the movie up. Let's set
up this clip, because if you just play this clip, it's going to be like, what the hell is going on?
What's the movie about? This is the 5th Dracula film, correct? In the Hammer.
I'd have to verify that. I'll take your word for it, but sounds right. So Dracula. Okay, so yeah, we'll go ahead. Horror Dracula, and then
Sister, Bride, Lover, Wives of Dracula.
Brides of Dracula.
Brides of Dracula. Dracula has risen from the grave.
Yeah, no. I have it here. So after Brides is Dracula, Prince of Darkness.
Prince of Darkness, great title.
Then Dracula has risen from the grave, 1968.
Yep.
And then Taste the Blood of Dracula. Here we are at 1970.
And then Scars of Dracula, and then Dracula AD 1972.
Yes. And then technically Satanic Rites of Dracula and Legend of the Seven Golden Vampires, according, those do get included. They're not with Christopher Lee, though.
Great titles.
Yes.
The Satanic Rites of Dracula, Taste the Blood of Dracula. Spectacular. How could you not go see that?
I mean, especially Taste the Blood of Dracula. In the book, it's got a great Christopher Lee talking about the title. Let me see if I can just find that real quick.
Tasting my blood.
Also, going through this book, it's pretty interesting. I didn't even realize some of these films were Hammer. There's like a bunch of Bette Davis movies from the 60s that are Hammer. Like, I didn't know The Nanny was considered a Hammer movie.
Really?
Yeah. Dracula, Prince of Darkness, Rasputin. God, God, I can't find anything. I'm just slowing us down. Sorry.
No problem. This is a live stream. Doesn't have to be perfect. You know.
Do you want to talk about the?
So basically, the plot of Taste the Blood of Dracula is the opening. First of all, it's getting into that period of Hammer where they were shooting more on location, right? So they tend to look really more contemporary because the sound stages are sort of kept to a minimum, whereas in the early stuff, it was all basically set, right? They hesitated to shoot outside. But you've got an opening sequence in which we are introduced to a father, character's name being what?
Whoa. I would say even before that, the movie begins in the most
oh yeah, it's cool
way. And the movie begins and you're like, what is going on? What is this movie going to be about? It's some like a guy, like a kind of like a chubby guy. He's going on a carriage ride. He's getting like annoyed by the people talking to them, and I think does he? Oh God, he gets robbed.
No,
or something.
Who is that actor? Who's the actor?
We did not do our homework.
I know we didn't. I know we fucked up. Because who is that guy?
Weller. Let me see. I'm on here.
I'm looking it up.
Roy Kinnear.
Oh my God. Okay, hold on.
That's the guy, the businessman. He gets thrown from the carriage.
In Blade Runner, no. I'm wrong. He is the dad in Willy Wonka. That's Veruca Salt's dad.
Oh yes.
Who's in the factory and has the guys unwrapping all the Hershey's and stuff.
Yes, right? Yes. So it's this guy. He's traveling around. He gets thrown off this carriage. I can't remember why. He does something funny, and he just was wandering around in the forest in England, and he finds Dracula, who's been like impaled with a stake and is dying, and then he falls on the ground, disintegrates into blood before his eyes. And for some reason, instead of running in terror or getting the hell out of there, he said, "Hey, this would be a good idea if I get a bottle and I capture this blood and the robe and the cloak and the medallion. I don't know, it might come in handy in the future."
Right.
I mean, who wouldn't?
Might come alive and murder me in my sleep. Because I was curious, and I didn't do my research on this either, but I was like, is that the ending of the previous movie?
Mm-hmm.
Is it? Okay, well, that's pretty cool. So yeah, he picks up Dracula's blood that I guess turns to dust. Is that now canon? Was that part of the idea before? That Dracula's blood turns into red dust?
Well, like dried, I guess it's dried blood,
Okay,
I don't know.
You would know. But I mean...
no, it doesn't really happen in real... I mean, that's...
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I thought so. But it's special satanic evil blood.
Yes.
So I get it. But yeah, that's a cool opening. It hooks you, right? And then we're thrown into a sort of domestic situation after mass, after church. There's a family, father and a wife.
The Hargood family.
The Hargood family. And we have William Hardgood, right?
Yes,
who is
Jeffrey Keane.
He's a good God-fearing man. He comes home and he sees his daughter is sort of talking to another guy, right?
Yes.
And he's like, you've been parading yourself around like a harlot, right? He's like, go to your room, slut, right? You know what I mean? And the wife's like, why are you so hard on her? And he's like, I have to go out and help the poor, which I do every Sunday night, right? Lo and behold, the guy goes and hangs out with the boys and goes to like the strip joint,
Yes.
Or the brothel or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, would be more like it. Yeah.
And like the sort of like maitre d' of this whole joint is like, oh, well, I got something special for you guys this week, right?
Yeah.
And it's a girl dancing with a snake,
yes.
And he's like, this is not interesting.
Yeah.
Right.
They're so bored. They're so bored with all of these. Their hedonistic lifestyle is like hit its nadir, I guess. They've done everything, and now they want to know what else is there that I can experience to like satiate my hunger for, like
for just extreme
and like
it's kind of like Hellraiser.
Yes, that's a good analogy. Yes.
Yeah, it's like I've every frontier of pleasure and pain I have seen, right? Which I find hard to believe. I think they probably go on Twitter now. They're fucking
apparently after you get hooks and chains, put on.
Yeah, there were no whipping going on or anything. Yeah,
and, pulled apart, like drawn and quartered in Hellraiser.
What is it? You called us, we came. Right?
Yeah.
Do you like Hellraiser?
Oh yeah, very much.
Yeah, I've only seen the first one, but I remember really enjoying it. And thinking it was
Yeah,
pretty
the other
good.
ones, the sequels are. I mean, it's diminishing returns.
And the author is
Clive Barker.
yeah, Rawhead Rex. Saw that at a midnight screening.
Clive Barker. I have seen The Future of Horror, and it is Clive Barker or something like that. That's what Stephen King like wrote on the dust jacket or something like that.
Got it.
Did you see? You didn't see the remake of Hellraiser that came out like last year, did you? Or this year?
No,
maybe?
there's like they made like 15 of them. There's like
no, but they made like the remake. The remake.
Oh, they did.
No, it was with the female Pinhead.
Oh, was it good?
Like ish.
It was on Hulu, so
it was
didn't
like
happen.
good-ish. It had some interesting. It starts out really, really good. It starts out with this very like intriguing premise and spin on how who has the puzzle box and what they're doing with it. And then it just kind of devolves after that. And then at the end, by the midway, it's just like, oh, this is boring.
Well, the Cenobites are super scary monsters, right?
Yeah.
I think that first Hellraiser is a really great movie, and I think a lot of people. I mean, it's great. I mean, it's really good.
I love it, and it's got one of my favorite actors, Andrew J. Robinson, in it. I don't know if you know.
Why would that be the case?
Andrew J. Robinson played
he related to you,
Garrick, on Star Trek Deep Space Nine, one of the most interesting and fascinating Star Trek characters for a lot of fans.
Wait, he was in Dirty Harry, dude. Okay, yeah,
oh,
okay.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, I forgot. I always forget about that. But like, yeah,
and
he's
Charlie
Garrick.
Varick, a movie I reviewed.
He's in that.
No, yeah, Andrew. I didn't realize Andrew J. Robinson was in Hellraiser. Who does he play?
He's the dad.
Oh, got it. Okay, great.
He's the lead. He gets the lead credit.
Guess I didn't realize that. Okay, cool.
Yeah, Garrick was a Cardassian spy that gets left behind on Deep Space Nine, and he opens up a tailor clothing store and becomes friends with the Doctor. And it's always implied, is he or is he not an active spy for the Cardassian Empire? And he always knows what's going on, and they dance back and forth with their dialogue about what's going on.
His makeup is so unfortunate. It's really
it's gorgeous. I mean, it's I love that makeup, the Cardassian makeup.
You do?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Great actor. But anyway,
going back to Star Trek fan. Yeah, getting back to
we'll take care of that at some point.
So then, to interrupt the festivities, Lord Courtly arrives, and Lord Courtly is sort of like he's like I'm really a bad guy, I guess he's immortal or something, right? Because he's
no. Lord is that ever?
Oh, I'm getting it mixed up with Dracula AD 1970. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah.
There's another Lord Courtly.
Is just a jerk.
He's just a guy, and he comes and interrupts their thing, and they go, "Who's that guy?" And they said, "Oh, he's Lord Courtly. He's like really cool and playboy or something." And they go and talk to him, and he goes, "Hey, you guys want to do something really wild? What if we like smoke Dracula's blood out of a crack pipe or something?" Right?
I just love that the introduction to Lord Courtly, though. I think he undersold it. He just barges his way into their private room. The guys have a private room where they have the lady dancing with the snake. Okay, and she's given, I think, the one guy a lap dance or something like that. And Lord Courtly barges in and he says, like, "You're with me." He's like, and then the older guys get upset. They're like, "Who is this young upstart?" And they're like, "That's Lord Courtly." And the women pay him to be with him or something, like the maitre d' says something like that, and so they're so enamored with him that they're like, this is the guy who knows where the action's at,
right?
Do you want to take your levels you want to take your hedonism to the next level?
Yeah. He's the plug, as the Zoomers would say, right?
Is that a thing? I don't even know what that means.
Yeah, it means like a drug dealer or like, right? I don't know why that's. I'm hip though. I know what's going on.
But like we haven't even hit like maximum like absurdity yet. But this movie just keeps getting better and better and better in the levels of how crazy and over the top everybody is acting. Everybody's acting like a complete idiot, and it's great. I love it. It's like everybody's like dial it up just a little bit more,
But like it looks great. The sets are great. Like it's in key. It's not like a total like goofball session. Mm-hmm. You're not laughing at it.
You're laughing with it. It's meant to be a little a little silly.
You know what? It just, you're like excited watching. You're like, this is fucking
Yes.
awesome. Like, this is really like they're taking the Dracula idea and going all in on it, right?
Yes. Yes.
So anyway, Lord Courtly takes him to the guy who we saw from the opening prologue, and he's like, "This guy's got the shit, but you know, since you guys are rich, you can buy it, and we can do this thing." You know, it's like, okay, it's all kind of like a drug deal, kind of a thing, right?
Do you want the good stuff? Do you want the really, really good stuff? You know?
Oh yeah, I know a guy. You got to walk somewhere weird to like get it or whatever. You know what I mean? So they get this, and they get to the old church, which is, by the way, an amazing, spectacular set.
Mhm.
Which they used a great effect in this movie. I noticed like the Hammer films, they always have sort of like, there can be other places they go, but there's always one location that's kind of like, they pick that to be like it, you know, I guess in The Mummy, it would be Peter Cushing's house, sort of the focal point set where a lot of things happen. The church would be this for this movie. They go there, they start having second thoughts when it comes to drinking Dracula's blood. And
because you have to set it up though. You have to set it up even. It's just like,
okay,
so
sorry.
what do they do? What do they do? So he's like, we're gonna have a black mass, and we're gonna. This is your ultimate expression of like taking your instinct to the next level here. So he gets they get the blood, the dried blood, the powdered blood. They put it in chalices, and then Lord Courtly cuts his hand and mixes his own blood with the dried blood, and it starts bubbling over, you know, over the chalices. It's just dripping out of the thing, and he instructs his you know, his pupils in the ways of Satanism here. We're all gonna drink the blood, and that's gonna give us our high, you know.
It's terrific.
And the retort and the
drink, damn you! You drink.
Take a bong rip.
You fools. You pathetic, spineless fools. You drink then! You drink it! You drink the filth!
Fine, I will.
I hope you keep going to see what happens after. Yes.
Oh, I mean, I have him choking here. He starts choking on the blood and dying, and
look at that with the blood covering his mouth. He proceeds to convulse and fall down on the floor and die. Oh no, but I don't think he dies right away. He dies after they proceed to beat him to death.
They just start beating him with their canes and kicking him to death, and he's they just start kicking him and beating him.
Yes.
And
sorry,
but I like that line, and I texted you and I go, I watched Taste of Blood. I really liked it, and you just texted me back, "You drink the filth," you know. But the whole time, it's a very extended sequence where he's like, "Drink, drink," and I'm like, "Are you gonna say taste the blood of Dracula?" He never does. So that was kind of a letdown for me. But
don't insult the master. Drink, damn you, drink,
damn it. Which is like, what's gonna happen to them if they drink it?
I think they would also convulse and die.
They would die too. Yeah, I mean, because what happens is that Lord Courtly dies, but we should mention that Lord Courtly, because Christopher Lee hated being Dracula, he never talks as Dracula. It's not because they wouldn't give him lines. He didn't want to say the lines. I think he was famously quoted as saying, "Just pull shit out of Bram Stoker's book and have me say that." But he's like, "But every line you give me is horrible." So he just didn't talk.
I found the quote I was looking for, and it's him after he had been coaxed into taking on the role, which he did not want to do for this movie. It says, on November 3rd, I start what I hope will be my last film for Hammer. The tasteful title is Taste the Blood of Dracula. As usual, words fail me, as indeed they will also do in this film.
Nice.
Wow. Mic drop, right?
So why couldn't the guy get work doing anything else? Christopher Lee.
I don't know. Well, I mean, this is 1970, so he eventually,
did Christopher? Everyone knows Christopher Lee because of Saruman and Count Dooku, right?
That's like 40 years later, you know. Or
exactly, but he had sort of a mainstream renaissance in the 2000s. But I mean,
yeah. I mean, the
Was he-
biggest other role I think of is Scaramanga in Man with the Golden Gun. You
Good,
know,
yeah, and in Captain America 2, Death Too Soon.
of course, as
Yeah.
what was his name? Enrique
Miguel.
or something? Miguel.
Enrique, yeah, Miguel,
Sorry.
the secret man of 1,000 faces, Miguel. Disguising himself as a prison warden so that he could do something. Make everyone old, right?
He's in Return from Witch Mountain. That's much later as well. That's in the later 70s, but it's a Disney movie.
But in the 2000s, everyone was using him, and he was in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Tim Burton remake.
I never saw that. I never saw the remake for that.
I mean, you're not missing out or anything, but
Where he plays Michael Jackson, or Willy Wonka as Michael Jackson.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing, right? Christopher Lee. Yeah, but I mean, it's too bad that he was kind of not appreciated.
Yeah, and these Hammer movies were doing big business in not only in Europe and England, but America especially. And he was upset that he was not being paid very much for these roles when Hammer was making bank off of him. And so he didn't want to do it. But apparently, from what I read, and this is how this is what I think it's in the book too, they wanted Lord Courtly to be the new Dracula. So after the original screenplay was Lord Courtly was going to drink the blood and he would become the vampire. He would become Dracula and carry out the rest of the movie. But Warner Brothers, who was co-financing this movie and distributing it in America, said, we're not paying for this movie unless you promised us Christopher Lee. So you better get him, otherwise there's no movie. So they coaxed him into doing it, and he worked with the director to eliminate lines from the movie. He's like, no, I don't want to say this. No, take this out.
He didn't talk.
He says I think maybe 10 or 15 words, and it's they have destroyed my servant. They shall be destroyed.
Right.
And he says it with not much more conviction than that. But
no, and here in the chat, Trimming Close says, Lee said they guilted him into doing new Draculas every time, and saying that he would be putting everyone else out of work if he didn't do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it from there it kind of becomes a more. I mean, there's a sort of added element of this idea that they're trying to cover up this murder, the three city fathers, right?
Yeah. And
their sins are sort of visited upon their children. It's a fairly effective movie. The girls are bitten and turn into vampires, and I think out of the 4 kids that are set up as our main sort of kid characters, 2 of them die, only 2 survive.
Yeah.
Right?
I think so.
So it's kind of a brutal, uncompromising movie, and that scene. I mean, Christopher Lee hypnotizes our main girl and forces her to kill her own dad. Now he was trying to beat her or something, right? I mean,
I think he was going to go further, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, who knows? Yeah, but then he gets out of Mr. Summersdale, who refused to drink the filth. He dies, and there's probably about 45 minutes left in the movie after he's gone.
Yeah,
which is weird because he seems kind of like the main character to me.
I do think the movie takes a bit of a downturn after the aforementioned scene. That it builds to that, and it's beautiful. And then afterwards, it's kind of just like Dracula picking off the guys one by one and other people. And it's fine. It's perfectly watchable, but it doesn't have any of that flair that we saw from the beginning of the movie.
No. I mean, there are some good moments, like when there are 2 fathers and all their children are 3 fathers, all their children are involved, right? There's our one wholesome young lad who wants to date Summersby's daughter, and he can't.
Did you catch his name? Did you catch his name, by the way?
No, what's his name?
Paul. Do you notice? Have you seen many of the other Dracula movies?
No.
Every guy is named Paul.
Everyone?
Yeah, almost all of them. It's always Paul. Paul's in every movie. It's a different guy, but just look for that next time you watch one of these.
But it's kind of harrowing in that one of the guy's daughters is bitten, and the other father is like, you got to fucking stab your daughter with a stake. Right?
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, well, I can't do it. And then he ends up getting stabbed with a stake, which is pretty brutal, right? Which is a good scene.
Is that probably the first time we've ever seen a human
non-vampire get
a human gets impaled with a stake through the heart? And I can't think of. I mean, the only other time I think of that is they did that in Buffy the Vampire Slayer one time.
Okay,
that would have been 30 years later, but
sure. Yeah, it's a good looking movie. It's great atmosphere. It's definitely of interesting characters and interesting character dynamics. I watched Dracula AD 1972, which is
Yes.
pretty bad. Um, it's the same general plot. There's a Lord Courtly style character in the film, right? Um, and but instead of like, three older guys who are trying to juice up their sex life or whatever, it's like all these swinging London hippies, right? And they're like, he's like, it would be far out and wild and totally, crazy is if we did a black mass in an old church, right? Yeah,
Of course,
it's been,
all
I mean,
great, you know.
yeah, I mean, the one good thing about it is that you have Caroline Munro in it, who's totally hot. She was in Spy Who Loved Me. What else? Boy. Oh, Captain Kronos Vampire Hunter. She's in gorgeous. Another Hammer film. One that I'm debating on. Maybe picking was one of my picks. I might have to throw that at you. But Captain Kronos is a badass movie. It's really good. Yeah, Caroline Munro, super hot. But yeah, she gets picked off early by Christopher Lee in that film. But it's the same plot. It's like, and then
she's
this
in, Maniac as well, 1980.
right.
Joe Spinell.
Yeah,
That's a good movie.
I have not seen that. It's on the list.
Oh yeah,
I'll watch this.
I forgot which. There's something. Oh, the shotgun. That's shotgun scene in the car, I think, or something. If I recall.
Yeah, isn't there like a power drill kind of thing? No, maybe that's I'm thinking of.
I can't remember, but it's been a while. But there's a really, really good Tom Savini. I think it's Tom Savini gets the infamous sequence where Frank murders the boyfriend played by Tom Savini. Yeah, there's something. Oh yeah. He shoots him in the head in the car or something like that. It's like one of the most like intricate special effects, like
ever
explosion things from like the practical era, which is great.
I'll have to check that one out because I've heard a lot about it. That's good.
Need to rewatch it. Yeah.
But yeah, Caroline Munro. I was reading through an old Starlog magazine, and she had her own fan club in there. But
really?
Yeah, she was pretty popular. But yeah, it's the same old shit. The Lord Courtly guy, and then he dies, and then Christopher Lee is like, well, I must, avenge. And he comes back, and Peter Cushing is actually in it. He plays the great grandson of Van Helsing.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, so he plays, both characters.
So long.
There's a prologue at the beginning where it's actually kind of cool. Dracula and him are fighting on a carriage. And what kills Dracula is that the carriage crashes, and in the crash, they get swept under the vehicle, and Dracula gets the spoke of the wooden wheel stabbed through his heart, and that's how it kills. Right, that's what kills him. Right.
Wow.
But the rest of the movie is totally goofy, but it still is kind of fun to talk about. It's total. And they brought in this like fake band that they think that Hammer was trying to make take off. Like they were like, oh, we're going to put this band in there. And the opening scene in England in the swinging 60s, a little dated, right? I mean, they didn't hit it right on time. 72, that shit was basically over, right?
Yeah.
And they have this band, and they play 2 songs at the beginning, and they're terrible. And everyone's like, "Oh yeah, the fucking Rumblers or whatever they're called."
White Noise.
Yeah, they're great. They're the greatest band of all time. They're getting everyone shaken, and it's brutal. It's brutal.
I don't remember this at all. There's another one I need to rewatch because it's been so long.
Yeah. But Taste the Blood, though, man, I thought this is maybe one of my favorite Hammer films. If I had to,
good. I'm glad you liked it. Yeah,
really happy with this one. I thought it was awesome.
Yeah. This is always one of my go-tos. That's just like easy to watch, and that beginning is just so good. And I just it's great. I mean, it's like this is what you want,
Totally.
There's not a lot of BS here. It's like gives you the goods right away up front, and then you sit through the slodge through the back. It's not as good, but it's still solid.
Sort of like they go back to the formula. It's like, okay, the kid's gonna go kill Dracula, right?
This is like the beginning of the end, a little bit. Like we're starting to hit the decline at this point. This is 1970. It's still good. There's still quality, but it's not as good as it was before.
Yeah, it's wearing a little thin. You know what I mean? It's like it's on autopilot a little bit at this point, but you have just sort of interesting ideas in this. When you get to Dracula 72, boy, it's just, and the thing about Dracula 72 is that you watch it and it's maybe a little more violent, a little more brutal than this, maybe, but you're like, Texas Chainsaw Massacre was coming out at this time.
Mm.
And they're just not
How much is he actually in the movie? Is Lee in the movie?
Christopher, I don't think he comes in until like 50 minutes into the movie.
That's also the detriment of a lot of these later Dracula movies is, you look at at least, especially horror of Dracula. I mean, he's in it for like most of the movie. So having, you don't have a Ralph Bates as Lord Courtly entertaining you for, half of Taste the Blood in these other movies, then there's nothing to really go off of.
Like Scars of Dracula, which is such a bare bones movie. I mean, that is a movie that's just stretched out to its runtime.
I watched that not more than a year ago, and I don't remember a thing about it.
Nothing happens in it. It's like a little village, and then they go to Dracula's castle, and they just kind of walk around Dracula's castle for like an hour. And then at the end, they fight Dracula. It's very just just stretched thin, right? Just to get something out. But
that's one of those movies I watched at like 3 o'clock in the morning or something. So
yeah, well, it's just a good time to watch these. But they're solid. But yeah, you just can't. I mean, when was Hellraiser? 87?
Sounds right.
It's like you can only push it so far to where it's like you do a satanic mass and drink blood, and then Christopher Lee in a cape shows up. You know what I mean? It's like you're expecting like Cenobites, right? But
Dracula is disposed of in a very confusing way.
Yeah, it falls off of the top of the church or something.
Yeah, but the light is shining through the stained glass or something like that.
Does he get fucked up by looking at Jesus in the stained glass?
Yes, I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which comes out of nowhere.
Right. Yeah, the last half an hour is a little paint by numbers, but
definitely not as exciting as the finale in like Horror of Dracula, where Peter Cushing is having like a duel to the death with him.
Right.
Using crucifixes, making his own makeshift crucifix, shining the light of the sun in, or even in the movie that preceded this, where he's getting freaking impaled on some giant, stake, hobbling around.
Yeah, and the movie does suffer, I guess. Well, I would say my problem is they kill off Mr. Corland or whatever about halfway through. I would have liked to have seen the 3 dads have to make up for their mistake and maybe die trying to kill Dracula to save their kids, rather than just all be killed, picked off one by one.
Yeah, well, I guess it goes to show they had zero redeeming qualities. They were just horrible people, and they were disposed of by Dracula.
Yeah.
Or by their own children, in one case.
The kids had to, maybe that's sort of a hippie thing too. It's like, boy, our parents fucked everything up. It's up to us. You know what I mean?
Perhaps.
1970?
Definitely
maybe.
Possible.
It
was written by, the original idea came from somebody that was Freddie Francis's son, Kevin, wrote the original screenplay. I think it was rejected and they changed a lot of it, but then they still took some elements, and there was some potential issues with plagiarism or something like that. So there was a lot of behind the scenes kerfuffle. But so perhaps you're right. I mean, if that's the case, the original intent.
Young kid.
Yeah.
Don't trust anyone over 30, bro.
Of course.
They're all fakers.
I know. Don't trust me.
I'm getting there. Okay. What's next, brother?
Next is my personal favorite of the lot tonight, and it's hard because we've talked about 2 that are top notch, but I will defend this movie to the end. It's Shadow of the Cat. I love this movie to death.
Can we play the trailer to give people an idea what we're talking about?
Yes, please.
Incoming.
One cat, 9 lives. 9 lives. Walter, Clara, Andrew, Beth, Michael, Jacob, Edgar, Louise, Ella. 9 lives. On the edge of terror, 9 lives in The Shadow of the Cat.
So I like this movie. Andre Morel is the star, I guess. He's another Hammer regular who was in Hound of the Baskervilles playing Watson.
Mm-hmm.
Does a nice job as a sort of contemptible guy here. You want to go ahead and fill in the people about what the plot of this movie is?
Yes, it's very, very simple. An elderly woman, a rich woman, who lives with her husband and some servants. She is murdered one night, and she's murdered right after she is being forced to change her will to change it around so the inheritance is different. And the only witness to the murder is a house cat named Tabitha. And the murder is committed by the butler in the house. The butler is under the command of the victim's husband. So they're all in this plot to murder Ella, I believe is her name, so that way they can inherit all her money. And now, after this has been done, they are deathly afraid of the cat because the cat witnessed the murder, and they all think the cat is out to get them and will do them in. Whether or not that's an exaggeration of their own subconscious and their guilt, or the cat actually has some kind of, supernatural, preternatural power and is doing these things to get them.
I liked it. It's a good gimmick. It's a good setup. But you know what? Once it gets going, you're like, okay, the cat, they're going to all try to catch this cat, which they do. I mean, the whole thing is like, they start to get paranoid about the cat because the cat witnessed the murder, right?
Yes.
And the cat's around and it doesn't make them feel very good because it's sort of like a reminder of what they've done. So it sort of has an Edgar Allan Poe style thing there, like the Telltale Heart, where it's something that's just nagging at you until you have to rip it up, open the floorboards, and show them the body. Yeah, it was fun. It's a good premise. I like a little cute cat running around, especially since the cat is just like the most benign, cat. And there'll be some maniacal acting going on from one of our cast members. Oh, and they'll just cut out to the cat. It'll just be like sitting there, right? But the cat almost has this sort of like Symbols monkey horror story kind of a deal to it, where it's like whenever the cat's around, either the person's reaction to the cat or something the cat does causes them to die in a horrible way, which is sort of like the vengeance beyond the grave of the old lady who was murdered by Andre Morel. So in that way, I liked it. But at the same time, once that started happening, after we're trapping the cat in a cage, and then it escapes the bag and the guy drowns in the swamp trying to chase the cat. I was like, okay, so the next 40 minutes of this movie is going to be everyone dying in the vicinity of this cat.
Yes.
So it's just kind of like seeing how that is accomplished, which isn't entertaining. A guy falls off a roof. Someone has a heart attack. Someone falls down the stairs. It's fun. I found the main gal who was kind of the good niece and her boyfriend, not very compelling,
Oh, really? Yeah, they're the typical kind of just saintly good people. There's always, whenever you have these, I don't know, does this qualify as like an old dark house movie kind of?
Absolutely. We're in an old dark house the entire time. Yeah.
Yeah. But you always have the niece, the good niece is always the one who ends up as like the sole beneficiary of like all the wealth and stuff like that. All the rest of the family are scoundrels. They're all in it for the money. And it was just this one relative who really loved her aunt and was kind to her. And she's the one who's going to get all the money. And she was the only one left out of the new will. And she's like, oh, that's okay. I don't mind, but then all the bad people are like, don't worry, we'll take care of you. Oh, I'll take care of it. I'll make sure she's taken care of. It's like, okay, you're just like,
well, one of my favorite scenes in the movie, I thought, was when Andre Morel has sort of like a panic attack when he sees the cat in the attic, because they keep digging around the house to try to find the real will to destroy it and get rid of the evidence that they forged this new one.
Yeah.
And so he's bedridden for most of the film, which I don't know if he had the type of Christopher Lee power to be like, I ain't fucking get out of this bed for this movie, right? But he's in bed the entire time. But the best scene is when the police come and they're interrogating him. They're like, yeah, we think that, there was foul play here. And he's sitting in the bed and he's just lying his ass off. He's like, Well, the only one that would benefit from her murder is me, and you know it ain't me, so you better figure it out. She went missing, you know. That I liked. I thought that was fun. He's good.
That's what I really like about this movie too. Is there's definitely a certain level of a high amount of camp to this. Everyone's playing. You know, we talked about this with Taste the Blood of Dracula, that everyone's dialing it up past 11. Here, it's a little bit more subtle. It's very much tongue in cheek. Everything is like meant to be just a little bit goofy and humorous. The characters are all acting ridiculously peculiar and overacting to the point of absurdity, chasing this cat around, trying to kill this cat, and it's played for great comedic effect. Especially, like, I think it's similar to the scene that you just described where Andre Morel is talking with the other family members. He calls in his like ne'er-do-well brother and his like idiot son to come and help catch the cat, and they're just as crooked and devious as anyone. And they're talking like, gotta kill it, gotta kill the cat. And then the police,
this like fanatical obsession around killing the cat, and to any normal observer is quite strange. Yeah.
Exactly. And the police inspector and the good niece walk in, and they're like, what the hell is going on with these people?
Right.
And that obviously it gives them away because they're so preoccupied over nothing. This cat, I mean, that's why it's a reflection of their guilt. They do is as horrible as these people are. And they're pretty horrible. I mean, they do have some level of guilt that's like suppressed, and the cat is like manifesting as that.
Which is a cool idea.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think that first of all, I watched this movie on dailymotion.com. I don't even think it was a DVD rip. It was like a cable rip from like BBC 4. Because there kept being like title breaks in between. Like little things.
I've never even heard of Dailymotion. Okay.
Yeah, it's like a shitty video website, but that's where I found it for free because I couldn't find a DVD.
There is no DVD. There is a Blu-ray. I believe the first time this was ever released, like officially, was the Shout Factory does their Universal like collections. They have like 6 of them. Yeah, you got it. Those are wonderful, amazing sets.
It's in a set.
It's in a set of 4 films. It's got some other weird ones in there, like the man they could not hang or something like that. Okay. Before that, I had only seen this on TV. I saw it on. You know who Svengoolie is?
Yeah, of course. He's one of like the horror host.
Yeah.
Where was he from?
On MeTV. So that's how I first saw this movie years ago. Is that he put it on, and I was like, I've never seen this movie. I've never heard of it, and it's a Universal Hammer movie. You know, like, where can I get it? It was never available, and then they finally put out the Blu-ray. But yeah, it's definitely needs to be more widely available.
It reminded me a little bit of like Knives Out. You ever see that, the Rian Johnson movie?
Yeah, unfortunately,
where you have
a
bunch of conniving siblings, you know, in a house, and they're all sort of archetypes of like representations of certain political groups or whatever you want to call it. You know, you have the there's the right-wing political people, there's the left-wingers, there's the natural fibers lady, you know what I mean? Like, but I don't think I'm connected enough to British society in the late 50s to understand maybe what these characters represent as like a stereotype. Mm-hmm. And I also sort of lost track of all the different family members who were supposed to die in the film.
Well, it's,
you know what I mean?
It's really it starts with Andre Morel and the 2 servants, Andrew and Clara.
Yeah.
And Clara,
and then, like, 5 other people show up.
The scene that's like one of my other favorites is when she's like just hysterically screaming all the time because after they supposedly killed the cat, they threw it in the swamp. But that's when Andrew got his comeuppance. The cat left all its paw prints on the countertop, and she's just like screaming her head off from seeing that. And I think I don't know if that's the same part where she throws the knife at the door when
yeah.
It's like, God, like, get a grip on yourself, lady. Like, it's a cat.
It was a fun movie. I have a hard time putting it in like the Hammer pantheon and comparing it to anything else. You know what I mean?
Well, it's actually interesting you bring that up because there was a lot of debate apparently from the research that I did on this. I was watching a little bit of the Blu-ray commentary as well. It was a controversial, I guess, was Shadow of the Cat even a Hammer film for a long period of time? Because
Sure.
if you notice at the beginning of the movie,
Yeah.
the name Hammer does not appear anywhere in the credits. It
Right.
says like BHP, I think, or something
Yeah.
like that. So it's a very convoluted history and I had to listen to it multiple times from the guy on the commentary because it's like, what? Come again?
Yeah.
Anyway, the short story is like BHP was this other production company. They wrote the script for Shadow the Cat. They tried to sell it to Hammer. Hammer said, no, it's like, okay, but we don't have room for it right now. But what happened is they were making Curse of the Werewolf, and they were supposed to make this other film called The Inquisitor. Yeah, The Inquisitor, which is like some Spanish Inquisition movie or something like that. They're doing
Cool.
Curse of the Werewolf with Universal. Inquisitor was supposed to be with Columbia. And apparently, they're also only allowed to make one film outside of Columbia at this time from some other kind of contractual obligation.
Sure.
Inquisitor falls through completely. And so now they buy up the rights to Shadow the Cat. Universal agrees to co-finance it. I think they do it back to back with Curse of the Werewolf, and they do it on a double bill with Universal.
I saw the trailer that was the double bill trailer
Oh,
on
nice.
YouTube. Yeah, for Curse of the Werewolf and this. Boy, I would have liked to have seen Inquisitor. That sounds kind of badass.
Yeah, for sure. Just for reference, the Blu-ray is with 4 movies. So Shadow the Cat, The Thing That Couldn't Die. Sorry, that was what I was trying to think of, not The Man They Could Not Hang. Cult of the Cobra, very interesting one, and Black Castle, which is a very forgettable Karloff movie.
Got it.
You're starting to scrape like the bottom of the barrel. This is volume 6 of Universal Horror.
Oh my, yeah, you really pulled out a asterisk film for this.
Oh,
one.
yeah.
I enjoyed it. I liked it. It's a good movie.
It's a
Definitely
little
fun.
bit better than volume 5 of Universal Horror. If you see that one, it's got those are the Jungle Woman, Jungle Captive Wild Woman, and Monster and the Girl, which are
Hell yes, Monster and the
monsters.
Girl. Yeah.
You seen that one?
No, it sounds.
Oh no, it's actually quite good. It's
Sounds
actually
good,
a
yeah.
Paramount. It's actually a Paramount horror movie from the 30s that got
Really?
co-opted by Universal.
When I first watched this, I was expecting, and maybe this is just I thought, was it gonna be like a cat people kind of a thing, like suggesting horror, a lot of shadows and stuff. Kind of, but not really. I mean, it really gets after it, you know.
It's pretty explicit, like the
Yeah.
cat is going around. Oh, what did you think of the cat vision part of the
Oh,
movie?
where they warped the film kind of this way,
Yes.
right? That's the cat
Yes.
vision.
Yes. Interesting gimmick, you know.
It's not bad. Yeah,
And
I mean,
and the only thing is the music gets a little much about every time the cat appears on screen. They play that like I don't know what.
and
I
they
don't know
didn't
what
pick like a
that's.
black cat. It's just like a striped brown.
It's a tabby. Yeah, or it's
regular
actually not
ass.
a tabby. It's like a tortoisey cat.
Yeah, he's just kind of
Yeah.
hanging out, doing his thing. But like the movie does have a sense of humor because there's that scene where somebody dies, and then they were like, "We got to call the police and tell them the cat murdered somebody else." And they cut to the cat; he's just like playing with a ball, and they have this kind of whimsical music going. So it's like it knows what it's doing. It's a fun little movie. I really did enjoy it.
And I'm a big cat person, so you know.
So am
sorry to
I.
say. So it really
Yeah,
kind of warms my heart, you know.
I agree. I liked the cat in the movie. He was fun, and he's sort of the vengeful or whatever she is, sort of the vengeful spirit of the ant, right?
Yes.
And then, of course, we get sort of the we have to get out of this house. We can get out of here. There's too much death and murder that's happened here. And then someone else moves in, and I guess they inherit the cat in the house, and they go,
yeah.
"Oh, let's get Grandpa on there." If only he would change his will, right?
Yes.
So this is an avenging angel of the elderly abused for their cash.
I'm surprised that the niece and her new husband didn't take Tabitha with them.
Why wouldn't they? But then there was that weird line too, where like the niece is talking to her boyfriend, and she's like, "No more women, just me from now on." I was like,
I didn't catch that part.
"What?" Yeah, like okay, like I don't get it, you know. But
God.
care if we take a quick break before we finish
Yeah.
out with She?
Absolutely.
All right, everybody, we'll be back in a little bit. Courtney says, I'm digging your intertitle cards / music. Yeah, we're spicing things up, bro. For sure.
Get a copyright strike for that.
Yeah, I hope not. See what happens.
I have to it lets me cut those out when I do the recorded version, so I just cut it out.
Oh, sure. So you don't get a strike?
Yeah,
I don't care about
it's not
getting
a big
strike.
deal.
Yeah, I don't care. I could
3
fight it.
strikes and you're out.
I've got some powerful lawyers behind me. Let's go. No, I just recently fought my Fury video. They were gonna yank that, and I challenged it, and I won. So.
Oh, really? That's good.
Yeah.
What's the main issue? Is it the music?
Music usually does get you, yeah. Which I like to use music like underlying when I talk. But usually they get mad at the music. Sometimes if I like in the Fury video, I used like a very long extended scene that I kind of talked through.
They
weren't happy about that.
The escape scene, right? The escape from
Yeah.
the.
Yeah, they weren't happy about that, but I feel like I had to do it. So
I don't know if we talked about this on the stream or not, because it probably wasn't out when the last time we did one, but that was an excellent video. I really enjoyed.
Well, thank you very much.
And I had not seen the Fury, but I watched it before because you did the video and it looked interesting. So I really enjoyed the movie as well.
I'm glad to hear that. I really like Johnny Guitar. I haven't gotten around to sing it yet though, but
yeah,
the
Fury, definitely. I've recommended it to a few people as well, actually. So,
oh, cool. What are you working on next?
I actually don't have anything in the works right now. I'm sad to say. I got a little bit of a stressful situation going on for the next couple of weeks, but after that, I'll probably be working on the Christmas stuff at that point. So some classic Christmas specials. I want to do Christmas specials in movies, probably more the animated stuff. I think I mentioned I have a script written for I've mentioned this to you before. It's a forgotten 70s TV special called Nestor the Long-Eared Christmas Donkey.
Yeah, that sounds great.
So I think that would be a lot of fun. And I would like to do, I actually have a thing written for the Flintstones. Their multiple Christmas specials, which I think would be something good to do this year too.
I'd love it.
And my golden goose or whatever would be to do Yogi's First Christmas, because I love that movie. And it's horrible. It's one of the worst movies ever made, but I love it. Love every second of it. I used to force my family to watch that every year, and they would hate me for it.
I think after Hammer, we're gonna do 70s animated films from right.
Yeah,
is that correct?
I'd like to do that. Yeah, we'll do the Disney ones, and then if you want to do part 2 with non-Disney, we could do that. If not, switch to something else.
I would love to do a Ralph Bakshi show.
Yeah, I would do that totally.
Love to do a Ralph Bakshi show. Fire and Ice, Cool World,
Wizards,
Lord of the Rings. Yeah, American Pop. Fritz the Cat. There's a lot to pick from.
Yeah.
Right? I'd love to do a Ralph Bakshi show. That'd be great.
Yeah. We can do that, or we can do that later. We can just switch to something else. But.
Whenever. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Just in time for Christmas. Fritz the Cat and Cool World. I've not
seen Fritz the Cat. I've read about it in depth, but I've never actually watched it.
Cool World is fucking unwatchable. It's so bad.
Okay.
So bad. But if you like Bakshi, you kind of have to appreciate it a little bit, which I do. I like Ralph Bakshi a lot. I actually have I don't think Ralph's in the best health, and his kids have been auctioning off all of his shit on eBay. So I've got a still from The Lord of the Rings, a painted frame from the movie.
That movie is just, I always enjoy watching that movie just because it's so weird. I mean, it's not
Lord
really,
of the Rings.
Yeah, Lord of the Rings. It's not particularly enjoyable per se, but it's just, it never ceases to amaze me how much visually interesting and stimulating material is in that movie. So,
but it's got the same problem with all of his movies in that, like, he made them linearly and then he ran out of money by the end, so the end is just totally cobbled together, right? Because the opening, like, first 30 minutes of Lord of the Rings, is like spectacular, beautiful. Yeah. Everything's animated to a T. The background art is spectacular, and then he just gets to the end. He goes, "Let's just rotoscope the shit out of the rest of this movie," right?
But think about how weird that is. They filmed that in real life, and then they traced it. I mean, which
is what they did with Snow White.
I guess, but
not to the same extent. Like
yeah,
they photographed the fluid movements of a person, but then they
yes,
animated it, but Ralph Bakshi just like traces a motherfucker.
yeah,
Not always. Like there'll be moments where that will not be the case, but as he runs out of money slowly and has to end the movie like in the middle of the two towers. Oh, and then it's over, but they continue to fight. The end, right? Um,
such an like
everything would just be
a weird mix of a career. It's just his career is so fascinating because from where he starts, where he ends up, and kind of then leads back to. I mean, such a wide array of stuff there.
You got a fan in the chat,
got a fan in the
Sebastian Urbano.
Yeah, thank
Cine
you.
Crisis, we love you. I don't know who's
Thank you
we,
very
maybe
much.
the royal we, but please elaborate,
anyway,
Sebastian.
yeah, thanks,
Yeah,
thanks for the comment there.
that is an
Oh,
amazing
that's
collection you have back there.
Yeah, it's I'm very proud of that collection.
Oh, Courtney's got it. And in time, the war was won, but not in this movie. You have to wait for the Rankin Bass adaptation for that to happen.
Oh
in
yeah,
'83 or whatever, which is actually kind of badass. The Rankin Bass Return of the King.
yeah. They did The Hobbit, and then they did Return of the
Return
King
of the
as
King.
well, right?
Yeah, it's kind of cool. Like some of the character design stuff is really good. We, the Cinecrisis fans. Sebastian, are you my fan too, or just can you be both? Is it just I don't want to create like I'll wait for a response on that
It's
one.
okay. Don't hold your breath.
Boy, it's fun having chat, people. 7 viewers. That's pretty damn good. Return of the King is a masterpiece. Okay, let's not get started. I mean, the design of the Witch King is cool. Cine Crisis is just top tier. Oh, okay.
Oh man, you're making me blush here.
What's that make me? I don't know what this guy's. Who is this guy? Okay. Anyway, that's
okay.
nice.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll explain
She.
later. Yes.
She.
So we're talking about she who must be obeyed.
Gladly.
Also known as. She has another title too. She has 3 titles. She's four names, I guess. She's Aisha. She's she.
Yeah.
She's she who must be obeyed, and she who I can't remember the 4th one. But anyway, I picked this movie. I remembered it being very, very interesting the first time I saw it. Probably close to 10 years ago. This was one of the first movies that I bought when the Warner Archive first came out, and they started releasing a bunch of weird, obscure old movies on DVD. And I saw this was Hammer, Ursula Andress, Peter Cushing. I was like, sold. Give me that DVD. I watched it. I liked it. I sort of never watched it again, but I remember it being good. And I definitely thought there was just much more like a horror angle to it, but it's not. It's like an adventure movie.
Yeah, it's an adventure movie. I mean, there's some horrific moments, like when they throw everybody down the well and throw them into the fire. I mean, there's a lot out of here that's very much like Temple of Doom, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Look, I put together a little clip show here to give people an idea of what the movie's like.
Yeah.
Because it's a very visually interesting movie. It's pretty lavish. I love that. Those big block letters, basically the story of like 3 buddies from the war.
Mm-hmm.
You have the sort of manservant archetype, which doesn't exist in American fiction, but does in British fiction, and is, by the way, to bring back to Lord of the Rings, to the consternation of many, no, Sam is not like Frodo's gay lover. He's the manservant archetype from British fiction, which is exactly what the one guy. There's this main dude here who's kind of the handsome guy who falls for Ursula Andress. There's Peter Cushing, who's the scientist. Yeah, he looks like Bobby Kennedy in the gold coin. Yeah.
And there's Christopher Lee playing
the ethnic character.
Arab this time.
He's an Arab. He's an Egyptian. He's an Arab. And
probably something else in many other movies that we don't even. Well, I guess he's Scaramanga. Is he Italian in Man with the Golden Gun? I can't remember.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Here was Saruman. Holy shit, Sebastian! You just blew my mind there, bro. Go ahead.
Indeed.
Yeah.
One of the things I really liked about this movie, though, was you can see it from the trailer, is it's also a pretty lavish set design and exteriors here. And I think the visual component of it is one of the highlights of the movie. Both, and that goes throughout the entire movie as we move from location to location. You have these pretty good desert scenes. You have the intricate
they filmed
scenes
on
where
location in the desert.
they're in like Jerusalem at the beginning in the nightclub and all that. And then when we get to the Lost City, that's also a pretty extensive and elaborate set. That's very detailed and visually appealing. So I think visually this movie has a lot going for it. Story wise, it's not as tight as it could be. It's a little confusing, I think. But I think the atmosphere and the kind of like ambiance that you get from it in general kind of like outweighs the story problems.
Do you know who the American distributor was for this? Was it MGM?
I think so, because at least they own it now. Yeah, so MGM probably.
Yeah, because I know that I read in the book that there was a little bit of like, hey, if we can get Ursula Andress for this shit, will you give us some money?
Yeah.
Will you put a push behind this? And it was a big hit, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And yeah, she's gorgeous.
And this
Dubbed
is
over
coming
by
off
other
of
actors.
Tales of Dr. No a couple years later. So
exactly, where she captured everyone's heart.
Hit. And of course, she's dubbed again in this movie. I don't know what her natural voice sounds like, but
no. But yeah, this scene is pretty horrific here.
Yes.
We have in this situation, it's like a society where she who must be obeyed is like she like lords over all of these more tribal people within her domain, I guess, and treats them like slaves. And they revolt and try to, what do they do? Oh, they tried to kill the guy who looked like her long lost lover. Again, we have another long lost lover trope here of you look like my old husband. And so she throws him down this flaming pit. And obviously Peter Cushing is like, don't do this. Right. This is bad shit. But yeah, overall, I really enjoyed the movie. I thought it was a fun story. It's based on a book by H. Rider Haggard, who also wrote King Solomon's Mines. Early adventure fiction kind of guy. And I appreciated that. And I think I'm going to check out some of his books. They sound kind of fun. Right.
And we sort of talked about this on our own, but the King Solomon's Mines, there's many adaptations of that, but the 1950s one, I think that's when it's from. I can't remember, 1950 or so. That's one of my favorites. It's actually an excellent adaptation. It's the Quartermain character, right? That we saw later in movies like League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, things like that.
They made Alan Quartermain films in the 80s to rip off Indiana Jones too.
Oh yeah,
I think Sharon Stone got her start in those.
Oh really? Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So King Solomon's Mines from the 50s is one of the most beautiful, like on location in Africa kind of movies that you can find from that time period. But this movie, I don't know if we really described the plot all that much, but
no.
So you started though a group of three guys. They fought in World War I for the British. The war is over. They're in Jerusalem, and they're kind of they don't want to go home yet. One of the guys, the younger guy, he gets approached by a young woman who says, you look like the reincarnation of she gives him
Mark Anthony. Yeah.
She gives him the coin with his face on it and tells him, you look like this long lost person from ancient times, and you must meet she who must be obeyed, or she who waits. I think that's it. She who waits is the other time. And
he's like, really? Will that get me laid?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
But he falls in love with this other woman instead, who's like the handmaiden for she. And so they go, she gives him a map and the coin, and the map leads to the lost city of Kuma, something like that.
Something like
I don't remember. And the other guys are like, hey, we want to come too. So they go on this adventure. They find the lost city, and they meet Aisha, who is she who must be obeyed. And she is an immortal. She's existed for thousands of years because she went into this like flaming pit of fire that gives you immortality.
Yeah.
I don't remember how her husband or her lover died, but
she killed him out of jealousy.
Right. Yes.
And she goes, but I regret it. And now you've come back to me, my love, and you must forsake the mortal world and be with me forever. And he's kind of like,
come into the flames. I confused this with the story of like the immortal phoenix, because of the fire and the immortality and all that, but it's not a Phoenix story at all. You know, it's a very different kind of like deity entity thing going on here.
She's immortal and her civilization has sort of crumbled. And so
Yes.
her goal is to rebuild that civilization, and she can only do it with her. It's very much like a Cleopatra, Mark Antony type of relationship, right?
Yes.
It's kind of where it's drawing from, I feel like. Where I believe historically Cleopatra was like Greek, but she became the queen of Egypt, right?
Yeah.
And this is very much similar, where she rules over these poor peasant peoples. And then you have, it's sort of like a, I don't know if you want to say like a Bedouin style situation, where you have like this guy who's like in charge. He's in charge of them. He's the father of the handmaiden. And he's like, if these people keep being treated so cruelly, they will eventually revolt. I can feel that it's coming. You know, the fact that you guys are here might be a harbinger for the end of she who must be obeyed, who has ruled with an iron fist. Unfortunately, our main heartthrob male character is just totally smitten with her. And Christopher Lee is there for, historical purposes, because he wants to visit this city. But he quickly finds it's not what he actually wants, and it's pretty terrible. And they try to convince this guy not to fall under her spell, which he does. And it culminates with the handmaiden, who also has feelings for him and is the girl he really should be with, right? But she is burned to death in the pit of lava, which shocked me.
Yeah.
Right? Well, they actually did that because they give the blonde guy a choice. They go, spare her life, or, forsake, your rightful place at my right hand, right? And he ends up going with Ursula Andress. And then they burn the sweet handmaiden girl alive, return the ashes to her father and the tribesmen, and then they decide that's the catalyst for revolt, right?
Not only did they return the ashes to him, but then he starts sprinkling the guy who's returning them to the father starts sprinkling them on the ground in front of him, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like add that, then that's the catalyst. Is like that's the straw that breaks the camel's back.
There's the rub. Yeah. So, and then they're basically caught up in this, and Peter Cushing and the manservant guy are like, okay, we got to get this dude back from the precipice. But unfortunately, he's about to step into the ancient ceremonial blue flame. And then Ursula Andress steps into it, not realizing that if you go into it twice, the effects are reversed, and she rapidly becomes old and gross. Very Indiana Jones, right? Where you go through the ritual at the end, and then you're horrifically disfigured, right? And she becomes old and gross before his eyes, and he's in the flame, so he becomes immortal, but there's nothing to live for because the kingdom is destroyed and she is gone, right?
Yep. And you have to wait a certain number of years for the flame to return.
Yeah, like 1,000 years.
And there's also a subplot where Christopher Lee, who plays her kind of like manservant, I guess, he wants to be the one to receive the immortality because he's worked for her. He's taken all her abuse. He's done what she asked. But now she's going to take this other guy just because he looks like, her long lost lover. And it's like, no, that should be me. But so he kind of steps in the way and kind of intervenes too and stokes the flames of dissent. So
and I liked his character. I thought Christopher Lee was pretty compelling in that role. He was cool. He had something to do. He had like
not caked up with makeup to make.
Yeah, at the end when he's struggling to get in the flame, I was like, "Yeah, you go, dude, get in the flame." Yeah. Because our sort of handsome male lead, I think, is rather. He's been given every warning that this is a bad idea. Right? He's
not the most compelling lead. He's not the most interesting or dynamic character. He's just kind of love struck or head over heels in love with, and he can't choose. He does choose, but he's debating which one should I go with, and he ultimately chooses the one that is going to give him the power and the immortality, rather than, I guess, the true love or affection that he's felt for the other woman.
John Richardson is the actor.
He's
who was also in 1 Million Years BC with Raquel Welch, which is very much a companion to this.
Yes.
And another Hammer film.
This
was such a hit.
That book, yeah. Like the Hammer glamour, they call it. This was the start of that era of Hammer, and this was the first Hammer movie to be kind of like entirely devoted to and revolved around a female star,
right?
As opposed to any of the other ones. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely something interesting to look back and say how they expanded their horizons and kind of enter different genres that overlap with horror, but have horrific elements, like you said. I think is the best way to describe it. but are kind of exploring other boundaries and other genres while using our same cast of characters. You know,
I think this one was actually a good pick. I mean, you were kind of telling me on the phone, well, it's not really scary, but that's fine because I like to explore the breadth of Hammer in terms of how they played in the genre film sandbox. I mean, that was their thing, right?
yeah,
They were the only game in town for genre at the time. I mean, really.
yeah,
Then obviously genre has come to become the dominating, force in film today. But in Hollywood and America, it was what musicals, romantic comedies, war and
oh yeah,
Western films.
musicals,
Um,
especially in the 50s and 60s,
yeah.
are still huge. I
This was
mean,
65.
this I think so, something like that. I lost it on here.
But I mean, would it be fair to say? I know that there have been female celebrities and leading ladies in the Hollywood golden age, but I think the James Bond idea of like this is the it girl kind of
Yeah,
became popularized around this time, right? I mean,
Six-
would I be wrong in saying that Megan Fox was kind of the last it girl of our time? You know what I mean? Where it's like she was such a
yeah,
hit and such a poster on the wall for 13-year-old boys in 2008. It's like, well, let's give her her own movie that's just celebrates her sexuality and her image. And, right. I mean, this
oh
is
yeah.
ultimate. I mean,
Like even like something one that comes to mind is like Jennifer's Body. That's
exactly. That was her. Like, she's the
dramatic
goddess,
of-
let's, yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
no, I don't think there is anything like that nowadays. Maybe because it's not considered in vogue to do something like that anymore. I don't know.
No.
It's
But
too
yeah,
objectifying,
but this was sort of like, I'm trying to think of more examples throughout film history, but I think the James Bond girl has like sort of been a catalyst for this idea, you know?
Yeah, no,
Um,
I mean, Ursula Andress is certainly a great example. Raquel Welch, like you mentioned, even like Jane Fonda
yeah.
too. These are
Mhm.
all, they're certainly Jane Fonda and Raquel Welch are a little bit more talented than Ursula
Brigitte
Andress. Ursula
Bardot,
Andress is
maybe.
not really much of a talent, so much to the point where they
No.
have to dub her lines in every movie that she's in. But the others, they were talented actresses who also were beautiful women and could hold a movie based on that premise. So that's kind of the model that we're striving for in a movie like She.
Courtney says, I think anybody can look it, in quotes, with filters. I would
Nowadays,
disagree.
yeah.
If Honey Rider didn't have that little like bikini knife, it's a whole different world. That was huge, right? But
And Dr. No, yeah.
it's always just it is a je ne sais quoi, right? It's an imperceptible thing.
You
A
have
lot
it
of
or you
beautiful
don't,
actresses.
right?
Exactly, 100%. But no, I really enjoyed it. I thought Peter Cushing served his purpose well here in the movie. I liked the manservant guy a lot, who was hold on, I had him here. Bernard Cribbins. He was good.
Yeah, no, the cast is good. And again, visually based on the sets, the costume design, all of that. There's a lot to really, really appreciate and enjoy here. It's just I wish the story and the characters were a little bit stronger. That's what I really kind of. It's hard to. This is one of those movies that I watch and it's hard to remember what happened or the details because they're talking and they're having these conversations, but they're like what's important or what's not, and it's like you really have to focus, and I don't think it's stimulating enough on that level to make you want to pay attention to some of those details.
Well, it's tough. It's like you can map out the first act because there's a lot of exploring through the desert, but I get that because they traveled all the way to Saudi Arabia, wherever the hell they filmed this at, Tunisia probably. And they just, I mean, that seems a little overlong, but shit, we went all the way out here. Why not use it? You know what I mean? But once you get to the castle, you're kind of in the castle and everything that happens kind of gets jumbled up in your mind. Like, you know what I mean? But overall, I really liked it. I mean, it's one of those early, people always talk about constantly about the inspiration for Indiana Jones. And they always sort of misidentify. They're like, oh, it's like, 1930s serials or whatever. So probably this too. Yeah. It's one of those like movie narratives. Oh, it was inspired by serials. Which ones? I don't know. We don't know. Just they were out there somewhere. But this is very much has the fingerprints of like a future Indiana Jones plot all over it, right? We
Yeah.
go to the special temple, the evil person goes into the magic thing and turns gross. Their heads explode, they turn old, whatever, right? But no, I really liked it. I'm looking forward to actually reading some of Haggard's books. I've been reading recently a lot of Robert E. Howard Conan stories.
Oh, nice.
Whatever
happened with that Conan the Barbarian thing you were going to do?
Well, you know,
or not?
I don't think it's still on, but I had about 3 people lined up to do a Conan the Barbarian review with me because I figured I wanted to talk about Conan, but I figured so much has been said. What am I going to add? Right. So I was like, it'd be fun maybe to have somebody else to bounce off with. And just to basically in a shameful way capitalize off the Conan name, because I feel like if people come to my channel, they might click on a video they know and they look at the rest of my catalog and they go, well, I never seen any of this shit. Right. So if I can have,
come on.
Yeah. Right.
Exactly. I want to see that so bad.
It's
but
really good.
They're putting it out on 4K. So in November, I think. So I'm waiting for that to buy that.
Oh, perfect.
I don't want to buy the Blu-ray and then double dip. So.
But, you know, I had always put off reading the Howard Conan stories because I was like, well, these were written in the 30s. I mean, how good could they really be? You know?
No, that kind of stuff written in the 30s is the best.
Well, they're terrific.
Yeah.
They are terrific. They're super good. I mean, there's a novella he wrote called The Scarlet Citadel. And I'm like, this could have been written today. It's so good. That pulp stuff from the early 30s. So
I have that book, and I never I'm ashamed to say I never read it. I bought
Check it out.
With the intention of reading it. Yeah, no. After this next month, I'll have more time to read for pleasure.
I've read or audiobooked about 8 of the stories at this point,
okay.
And some are better than others, for sure. But like the Scarlet Citadel and the Queen of the Black Coast, like really good. So
all that time frame stuff is really good. I mean, I love the Edgar Rice Burroughs stuff from that time period.
Yeah, I've never read it. I should read some of it.
Yeah, the Tarzan and John Carter stuff. Then I've talked about Sax Rohmer and Fu Manchu books. Those are really, really good. Any kind of that adventure stuff is gold. I mean, that's the stuff we were mining for decades.
Yes.
In, movies, TV, comics. I do have a couple of the Conan comics, but I was always more of like a Tarzan fan than Conan. So I definitely collected the Tarzan comics way more. I have like a complete run of the DC Tarzan, the Joe Kubert stuff. Those are great.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always like Conan. I learned about him from the Marvel comics, obviously.
Okay.
Right. But and the movie. But I've reading that.
Thomas, who wrote almost all those Conan stories for Marvel, and he was like a devotee of, the book. So,
and he wrote the script for Conan the Destroyer.
Really? Oh, I didn't know
sequel.
that.
Yeah, which is gets a bad rap. It's definitely not a good follow up to Milius's film, but on its own merits, it's okay. If you're looking for like a sword and sorcery 80s movie, if you're like watching Labyrinth and like, stuff like that, like just throw Conan the Destroyer on it. Fits perfectly. Trembling Colors says, have you heard of the other British horror studio called Amicus? They're mostly known for their anthology movies. Yes. And I know that Amicus made a film with Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing, and I think Vincent Price in the late 70s that was sort of trying to recapture the Hammer magic. But beyond that, I don't know a whole lot about Amicus.
I've heard of some of these movies, but I didn't know that was a major company. Oh yeah, that they did the Tales from the Crypt movie, like the first one. I say The House That Dripped Blood. Okay, yeah. I've heard of some of these, but I did not know that was the name of the company. That's cool. I'll have to definitely check these out.
Yeah, I agree. Courtney says, haha, the DC Marvel split prevails for the boys. Yes, it's a big bone of contention. But I think it's why this works.
You gotta expand your horizons, Gotta check out that DC stuff,
Oh my gosh.
Recommend some good stuff, some Justice Society of America, It's like fuddy-duddy 1940s characters.
Flash those little tin hat and the.
It's great. Jay Garrick's amazing,
Jay Garrick, got it. But yeah, no, the Conan stuff is great. And the other thing about Howard that I've found interesting is that Howard and Milius were very similar in their outlooks and their philosophies and perspectives on life. And I've been reading some of the letters. H.P. Lovecraft and Howard were prolific pen pals. And they
Really?
debate a lot of like sort of philosophical issues, and they're fascinating to read. So Howard was a cool guy.
That entire generation of writers, their creativity and their ingenuity for creating these large concepts is something that we just do not have. I don't know if that's because we're so precious, like we're so thinking about the past, or we're not. I don't know why no one today is coming up with any new ideas of this magnitude. We're all just trying to copy what's been done before, and
Yeah, it's
no
bad.
one. I don't know. What do you think? It's like,
But you have to admit, I mean, we watch these Hammer films, and it's very much they are following the Universal playbook to a certain extent and capitalizing on the IP, as it were, of those. But it's just through a different filter, different lens, a different sensibility.
but
And
those
playing to it-
Universal films
yeah.
are in themselves adaptations of novels
Yeah, you're right.
for the most part. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely some. They definitely laid the turf down. I mean, for like the werewolf and stuff. Have you seen like Werewolf of London and the Before the Wolfman? Have you seen that one? That's an interesting kind of.
No, I've
Oh
not.
yeah. So Before the Wolfman came out in like 41, I think. There's an original werewolf movie. It's called Werewolf of London. It's very different than the Wolfman mythology entirely.
Oh.
Kind of gets forgotten. It's from like the mid 30s. It's pretty good with Werner Oland in it. Played Charlie Chan in many films.
How do I get started in the Charlie Chan movies? How do I get into that?
The Werner Oland. Oh, I don't know. Are those still in print? Because those are all owned by Fox. That's interesting. Let me
Wolf
check.
of London. Okay, I will put that on the
Charlie
list for
Chan,
sure.
Fox. I think they're probably out of print. Oh no, some of them you can buy them in. You have to buy them all individually now, and they're all like $18 or $15, which is ridiculous.
What's that,
Years
Charlie
ago,
Chan?
they used to have the Charlie Chan box sets, and I have them all. Yeah, like they're out of the one here is like Charlie Chan Volume 5, $75 on Amazon, which I think we got them at Costco for like like $20 or whatever. But yeah, the Werner Oland ones are the best, and then those were made by 20th Century Fox. They were like their B movie unit back in the day for them. They made other ones like that, like the Mr. Moto. Have you heard of those with Peter
No.
Lorre? Yeah, those are interesting ones too. And then later on, the series moved to I think Monogram, and they're not good at all. There's other actors like Sidney Toler and Roland Winters. They're okay, but Werner Oland is like the definitive Charlie Chan for me at least, and for most people.
Have you ever watched the Thin Man movies?
Yes, I struggle with those.
Okay.
They're not really. I have to redo them because I tried to watch the Thin Man a while ago. It just wasn't doing it.
The first one?
Yeah.
Oh, I love the first one. I mean, the sequels are diminishing returns for sure, but William Powell is such a terrific comedian actor.
Yeah.
I mean, he was just so good. You ever seen My Man Godfrey?
Mm-mm.
William Powell is like a great sort of forgotten star. He really was great. He had a lot of real charisma. He had sort of an aristocratic charm about him, very erudite, sort of a straight man. Yeah, I would give The Thin Man another watch, but that was another sort of pulp story.
I have the box. I just need to sit down and rewatch.
Yeah, it was a Dashiell Hammett creation, actually. I have a Dashiell Hammett.
I like the comment here. The Shadow and Doc Savage are cool. I'll definitely agree. The Shadow is such a great character that is sadly been forgotten and discarded. Doc Savage.
Has he been in the Alec Baldwin movie, which I thought was kind of cool?
That was like 30 years ago almost at this point.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he's been in they've done comics of late, but that's
DC did a comic of him, didn't they, in the 70s? Didn't go very long.
That's a really good. That's Denny O'Neil did those. Those are really good.
Okay.
But even of late, they I think Dynamite did a Garth Ennis did those. Those are
Oh.
pretty good. And then they did Batman in the Shadow crossover at DC not too long ago, a couple of years ago. They're pretty good.
I've listened to the Shadow Orson Welles radio shows.
Yeah,
Which
those
are
are really fun. Who knows what evil lurks in the
hearts of men?
Yeah,
The shadow knows.
Yes.
I had a guy tell me that in a public restroom one time. I'm not
Oh my
shitting
God.
you. I'm not shitting you.
Get out as soon as
I'm not kidding. Unsolicited. Just
Yeah.
said that in a restaurant. In a restroom.
That's really disturbing.
It was strange. Yeah, it was a strange experience.
Yeah.
But I didn't know what the fuck he was talking about until I was like, I was like young, but it was a little weird. That man, his name was Jeffrey Epstein. But
Maybe.
yeah.
You've seen the Alec Baldwin movie, right?
Yeah, I have. I liked it.
It's fun. Yeah.
Isn't it Russell Mulcahy directed that?
I don't remember.
I'm wrong.
But it's such a different
They give him a big fake nose.
a different
Russell
world,
Mulcahy
like a
did
different,
Highlander directed that.
that might as
what's
well
up?
be a different universe by the time that came out. I mean, you think about a movie like that, they had a huge toy line that went with it. I mean, there were action figures and cars and all that. There's merchandise up the wazoo.
It was like that weird thing in
nowadays
the 90s
you never
where-
see anything,
Like the lesson they took from Batman being a success was that we needed to make more pulp 30s character movies, but it didn't.
but
occur to
none
them.
of them worked. I mean, they're all good
No,
movies.
the Phantom.
I love Dick Tracy.
I do too. I love Dick Tracy. Love Dick Tracy.
Yeah, the movie and the comic, like the character,
Same.
I love it, and it's
Dick
so.
Tracy's
It
spectacular.
just, I mean, I'm glad it's not around now because I don't want to know what they do with it right now. But I mean, there was definitely a time in the late '90s through the 2000s, early 2010s where they could have made something really good, and we need to wait. That's one of those things. It's like let's just wait for a little longer, and maybe when current era is over, they'll be
After the dust has settled.
yeah.
The new civilization is formed.
Dick Tracy,
But,
Phantom, The Shadow, Terry and the Pirates.
Yeah. I was just gonna say Madonna is Breathless Mahoney in that
Oh
movie.
God, yeah.
I hear a lot of haters on Madonna, and I'm like, have you seen Dick Tracy?
The movie is unique. I
Very
mean,
much so. Terrific.
it is not Batman. It is visually
Beautiful.
it has the same kind of stylings, but it is not Batman. I mean, there's
No.
musical numbers in the movie.
And Vittorio Storaro did the cinematography, who shot Apocalypse Now. It's like comparable. It's so good.
Just
The use of the
primary colors, like yeah.
right. Yeah, I love Dick Tracy. It's actually one of my wife's favorite movies too.
Oh, nice. Can
Yeah.
you imagine a movie like that being made nowadays? No.
No,
That
No.
amount of color. I
the
mean,
makeup. Yeah.
everything would be so drab and dull and boring and
We're
ugly.
updating Dick Tracy for a new generation.
Yeah. There would be no yellow trench coat for sure.
No, there wouldn't.
Sure,
Or a
it'd be-
little watch with a radio on it. Yeah. I find encouraging that I've heard rumors that they're thinking about taking James Bond back to the 60s for the new one.
Well, if Nolan is indeed going to make the Bond movie, we are set. Okay.
He's got to.
I
yeah.
mean, there's no other way. I mean, if that happens, it's gold. I mean, again, as someone who is not a Nolan devotee, Bond would be something that I would definitely want to see him approach, because that's something you can do in a ultra hyper realistic way, and it would be interesting and done well. Like you don't need to have the fantasy elements, and there's definitely no sci-fi in there. So I'd want to see that.
You ever read any of the old Bond books?
No, but I want to, and apparently, they're censoring them or changing them, so you have to find an old edition.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're changing the wording in some of them and editing them.
I've got a bunch of old paperbacks.
Our friend, the damn fool idealistic crusader, has done many videos on the editing changes in the James Bond novels. I would recommend those videos.
Really? I'll watch that because Ryan and I have been watching this guy. His channel is called Damn Fool Idealistic Crusader. He's got something he's on the spectrum in some way. Gotta be, right?
No comment.
I mean, I say that in a very positive way. This guy is a maniac. Am I wrong?
It's great though. He's one
It's
of the
great.
most well spoken, like intelligent, like thoughtful commentators online, and
He's not going to come on my channel now, but yeah, I say
the
that with
wealth
love.
of knowledge is like
Yeah.
The wealth of knowledge is like very impressive, I will say.
This guy can go
I would love to
off
talk to him. I would love to
on
talk
the tiniest shit. Like, I mean, this is a guy who, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Not wrong.
I mean, he did a very, I haven't watched it yet. I plan to, is the intricate comparison of the Thunderball audio tracks from different media versions. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I didn't know that there was different audio mixings of Thunderball.
This guy will riff for 2 hours on the differences between like 5 different transfers of a film over the course of like VHS to DVD to Blu-ray. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's nuts.
There's a comment about have you watched the Christopher Lee Fu Manchu movies? No, not yet. I have the Blu-ray on hand, ready to watch. That'll be something after we finish up the Hammer stuff. When I have some free time, I will definitely be checking those out.
Perfect. The next Hammer films we're doing.
Yes.
Sebastian says
your
no
choice.
comment. ... Is he damn philatelic crusader in disguise?
No, he's not.
Oh, he's not. Okay, got it. So I'm thinking for my choices, Devil Rides Out.
Yes.
Curse
Legend
the
of
Werewolf.
Seven Golden Vampires.
Legend of the Seven Golden Vampires, and then I'd like to do Captain Kronos Vampire Hunter.
Okay. Yeah, I have all those except for Captain Kronos, which I can easily get. So, Curse of the Werewolf is the only one of those that I have seen. Interestingly enough, so that's good. I'm happy to see something new.
You're gonna love Devil Rides Out.
I hope so. I expect to. I mean, all these Hammer movies have some. There's nothing bad. I mean, maybe Dracula AD 1972 is bad. Maybe that's.
It's not. It's
But it's
you know what I mean.
not.
It's not. Yeah. I mean, it's bad, but it's good.
Exactly. There's something there. There's some nugget of gold underneath all the crap. You know?
Exactly. Any questions from the chat? You guys can go ahead and do an AMA here real quick if you want. Let's hear them. We can riff through some of these, can't we? You got to roll?
Huh?
You got to roll?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Just curious.
No.
Okay. Yeah, dude.
Anything else that you've been watching lately?
Just Conan stuff. I watched the Conan reboot from 2011.
Ugh, what did you think of that?
It's okay.
I didn't care for it.
I mean, it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. I kind of wish I'd have watched it in high school. I probably would have liked it.
What about Red Sonja?
Didn't see it.
Oh, it's interesting. It's pretty good.
The new one or the old one?
No, the 80s one.
They were going to make a new one, but they never did.
Yeah,
Robert
wasn't
Rodriguez was going to make it with what?
Wasn't Rose McGowan going to do it?
Yeah, Robert Rodriguez was going to do it with Rose McGowan, and they made a poster for it and everything. That never came out. They never made it.
Oh, we have a comment. What do we think if Bond was a woman?
What do you think, dude?
No.
I'd love it. I think that it's
Really?
time. It's time for a woman to be Bond.
Really? I wasn't expecting that answer.
I think so. It's time.
Huh. Okay. Well, I don't think it would work. I think it's just fundamentally.
I'm fucking with you, dude. Come on,
Oh,
please.
okay.
Yeah.
I thought you went woke there for a second.
No. That would be what would be the point of that? I can't imagine anything worse.
I follow Trembling Colors on Letterboxd, and I see he's watched Destry Rides Again, which with James Stewart and Marlena Dietrich. I have that to watch, so and we gave it 4 stars, so I'm definitely excited to get that one. I have it on my list. I don't know if you've seen that one
too. Oh, they put it on Criterion recently.
Yeah, I think so, or Kino. I can't remember. It's one of those.
Criterion. Oh, great.
For me, yeah,
James Stewart always made great westerns. What?
Yeah. Oh God, was the Winchester 70? Oh God, it has some number at the end of it. Winchester 73, which was a Jimmy Stewart Western. Really good.
Yeah.
Really, really good.
You
And
ever seen The Naked Spur?
No, I have that though on Blu-ray to watch.
Yeah, that's good.
I didn't know that he made so many Westerns, like, for a long
Right.
time. I always thought of him as the Hitchcock kind of, like, sophisticated, kind of like Hitchcock thriller guy. And then who knew that he made so many Westerns? But he did. He made a ton of them.
Made some cop movies too.
Oh, what about the FBI story? You seen that?
Yeah. Yep, I have.
Yeah, I really like that. I really, really like that one. They made that under the direction of J. Edgar Hoover. He played a hand in making sure the script was, exactly right and all that.
I think wasn't he in a movie? Oh no, you ever seen G-Men?
No, I've heard of that though.
Oh. Yeah, with James Cagney, solid. But actually, I just watched. I've been watching some more Milius movies too. His John Dillinger film with Warren Oates is really good. Really good. Okay. Under talked about. Very much in the, like, if Bonnie and Clyde hadn't gotten made, he wouldn't have made that wouldn't have gotten made. But you know what I mean? It's like very much in the vein of that, but very good and very much his ethos. Courtney says, is there a film that totally changed your mind about an actor, filmmaker, genre, etc.? That's a good question. Changed my mind on an actor. I'm sure there has been.
Interesting. I'm reading I just scrolling through the John Milius page, and it says he adapted the Sergeant Rock comics for Joel Silver with either Rennie Harlan or Paul Verhoeven attached at certain points respectively. And I guess it never got made. That would have been, I would have loved it. Awesome. I mean, Sergeant Rock movie. What was the question exactly?
Is there a film that totally changed your mind about an actor / filmmaker, genre, etc.?
Probably yes, but
it's a
off
tough
the top
question.
Of my head, I can't think of one.
Change my mind.
Or I'm
guessing it's like in a positive way. What?
Yeah, there was probably been a movie where you've seen and you're like, I never liked that actor before until I saw them in this movie.
That's a great question.
Music. I mean, for genre, I will say musicals. When I saw Sweeney Todd, that was one of the ones that really kind of made me appreciate what a musical could offer. But it was definitely because of the material.
That's a great question. Wish I had a good answer for it.
I don't know. That would be something I'd have to look through.
I guess if there's anybody, no, I don't know. That's a tough one. I'm trying to think of somebody that I wrote off and I saw him in a good performance, but I can't really come up with anything right now. I'm sorry. Huh. Don't think about that.
So I guess for besides the Hammer stuff, are you gonna watch anything else horror related for the rest of the month, or are you guys?
If I have some time, I would. I have a tough challenge. I'm hosting two other couples, friends of mine, my wife's, over at the house soon. Mm-hmm. We're gonna do like a dinner, appetizer, drinks kind of thing, and watch a horror movie. We're rotating this thing, right? So I'm doing one, someone else's. So I have to pick a movie. And I want it to be scary and I want it to be good, but I don't want it to be like uncomfortably gory or horrifically frightening. You know what I mean? But I'm trying to, I don't want it to be too old to where it's not captivating, because these people are, I mean, they like movies. They're not idiots, but they're not like us. Right.
Yeah.
What would you say?
Yeah. I mean, what is considered too old? Is 70s and 80s too old for these people?
It's got to appeal to the girls too. I was thinking Scream, the first one.
Yeah, that's always a safe choice,
I wanted to give him something interesting and new, though. That would be like, oh, I'd never seen this. Wow,
I don't know, like Cabin in the Woods or something like that, or most people have seen that.
I want it to be on brand. I want him to be like, oh, I've never heard of this. George, you're such a masterful movie curator guy.
Yeah, not some just like piece of crap.
Not some like,
Saw 3,
Not Saw 3, that's for sure. but not so it's
Sausage.
like so gory to where they're like, oh my god, you know what I mean?
Oh, so not like X, which came out last year.
No, or not like I was thinking maybe Scanners would be a Videodrome, but I mean, there's too much sexual shit in Videodrome to where it could be uncomfortable for the girls.
I
I
don't
don't know. Like,
No, the Cronenberg stuff goes over so well with
it doesn't.
like with normal people. You know, it's like that's a very special. Even Scanners, I love Scanners, but it's a very slow moving movie, and it has its payoff for sure. And I love every minute of it, but I don't think it plays well with like normies. You know.
No, and I really liked Cronenberg's newest movie, Crimes of the Future. I thought that was awesome, but like again, very off-putting. Like wouldn't work, you know.
I'll watch. I love also Scanners. Reason I really like it too is there's a guy, an actor in it called Michael Ironside. I don't know if you know this guy.
Absolutely, he's
Okay, great. Yeah, I
stable
love
of the
love him. But the
Total
reason
Recall.
I really love him, he did the voice of Darkseid in the Superman cartoon in the 90s.
Oh, he did.
Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. It's got one of the greatest voices of like the modern era. It doesn't get used enough as he should, but
Yeah.
it's like if they made a Justice League movie that had Darkseid in it for real, he should do the voice. He should do the motion capture and do the voice. It's like, why not?
He's still
You know?
around. He's probably pretty old by now, isn't he?
It's probably like in his 70s, but
He
you know,
was in Terminator
Cohen did do off
Salvation.
the
Remember?
prime, you know? What's that?
What's that? He was in Terminator Salvation.
Was he?
Yeah.
Oh man,
looks like
I
he's in the
blocked
new-
that movie out of my mind.
Yeah, it was
I
horrible.
think I saw it twice in the theater, to be honest with you. I don't know why.
Yeah, Michael Ironside is great.
Terminator Salvation with McG. Is McG
With
still
Mick G. Oh my god,
Is McG still making film? You know,
that's a good question.
cinema.
What an asshole.
You know,
Mick G.
the movie of his that I actually did like was this. Did you see This Means War?
No, I didn't. But
With
was that
Reese
good?
Witherspoon and Chris Pine and Tom Hardy.
Where
You should
Reese
watch
Witherspoon
that.
is so hot, two guys want to go
Oh,
after
this
her.
movie. I think my brother and I went to go see it. It was fun. It was a lot of fun. It's garbage, but like it's big G garbage, you know. It's like Charlie's Angels 1 is like
Yeah, Mick G,
garbage,
Brett
you know?
Ratner, both the, you know what I mean? Like just like they made serviceable pseudo hits in the 2000s, right?
Brett Ratner though, he got Me Too'd or what? What
He
happened
did.
to him? And he's
I
gone.
guess so. Yeah, he's out of it. He's out of the picture. Yeah,
He did,
Brett Ratner, X-Men.
X-Men
3.
come on, X-Men The Last Stand though is not come on.
So you like that movie?
No, we can do better. You know, it's like
Oh
he
yeah,
did
that was a piece
but
of
that's
shit.
Brett Ratner. That's Brett Ratner doing that.
But when I was 12 and I saw that movie, I thought it was awesome. didn't
Even
get-
when I
get-
saw that one in the theater, I knew this was not very good.
Doesn't get any better than this. X-Men 3, let's go.
No, I mean because X-Men 1 and 2 were so good that.
Yeah.
But then I saw X-Men Origins Wolverine, and I'm like, oh, X-Men: The Last Stand wasn't so bad after all.
Yeah, that was a horrible piece of shit. Okay, dude. You got anything else?
No, I think we've beat this to death enough.
You've
here.
exhausted it. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, no, this was good. I think we had a really good discussion on 4 interesting and kind of unique films in the Hammer library, and I'm very excited to see these other movies.
100%.
I've tried to expand and watch some other Hammer stuff along the way.
Yeah.
And you know, it's a lot like we talked about, a lot of good but not great. You know.
Yeah.
I would say check out Captain Clegg though. I really
cool.
do like that. Yeah.
Because I was going to say, I until I watched Damn Idealistic Crusaders review on the Hammer Robin Hood stuff, I didn't even know it existed.
Those look really cool.
Captain Clegg.
They actually are in the book though. There's little I was flipping through it. Oh, and then what was that one?
I got Stranglers from Bombay because I kind of heard that it was kind of
Did you watch
subversive
it?
and wild. No, I haven't watched it yet.
Okay.
It's on Region B, so I got to rip it into my computer before I can watch it.
Oh, I
But
see.
yeah, I thought about it. Then I rewatched Captain Kronos like 2 weeks ago, and I was like, this is too good not to watch.
Okay.
It's awesome. It's awesome. And also, it has sort of a historical talking point because it was really like the last good Hammer film.
Mhm.
And after that, it was over. You know,
Yeah.
because they had planned Captain Kronos as a series, and it could have been a great series, but after that, it was done. So
Isn't it amazing? It just ended, just
Yep.
went away. This
Yep.
empire just folded, just collapsed.
They couldn't keep up with the new American horror movement. You know what I mean?
No, I mean we're talking about it with The Exorcist and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre starting to come out, and this is all passe at this point,
Right.
I just was one thing about the Captain Clegg is really interesting is that did you know that they adapted that similarly for a Disney TV thing in the 50s?
Really?
Yeah.
Peter
You ever
Cushing,
hear of Dr. Sin, the scarecrow of Romney Marsh?
No.
Yeah. So it's a Disney thing. It was on Walt Disney's like Disneyland or Wonderful World of Disney or something like that.
Patrick McGowan?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my! Oh, you did tell me about this. I have to see this.
Yeah, it's really, really good. There's a song. There's even like a Disney theme song that goes with it. And the first time I ever heard about this was I was at the comic book store, and he always finds I collect all the Dell Gold Key licensed comics, TV comics and stuff like that. So he always pulls them for me. And I saw said like Walt Disney's The Scarecrow of Romney Marsh, and it's this guy that looks like almost like a headless horseman kind of guy or a scarecrow on a horseback, and I'm like, what is this? And he's like, oh yeah, you don't know about the Scarecrow, Dr. Sin. And he's like, yeah, the theme song, and it was in Revolutionary War times and all that. And I'm like, no, I have to check this out now. And so I went back. You can find it. I think you can find it on YouTube.
Is it on Disney Plus?
Is it on Disney Plus? It might be. It might not be.
I doubt it. But no, this looks badass.
Zorro is on Disney Plus, which is great.
Oh, really?
Have you ever seen the Disney Zorro from the 50s?
No.
With Guy Williams. Oh, so good. I mean, that is like classic Americana, these Disney 50s stuff. I mean,
this sounds amazing. He dresses up as a scarecrow?
Yeah, they do smuggling. They're trying to smuggle alcohol from France to England and not pay the tariffs. So they do the smuggling, and then they have the guy that dresses up as a scarecrow to prowl through the marshes and like warn the people if the British troops are coming or something like that.
Whoa. And it also has Jeffrey Keane, who was in Taste the Blood of Dracula in the film.
Really? Oh, I didn't realize that.
Huh. This looks badass. I'm going to definitely watch it. Where did you find it? You have it on Blu-ray? Or you have it on
yes, I do actually. And I think I saw it before I bought the Blu-ray. I think I saw it on I found it online, like on YouTube.
This shit's probably in the Disney Vault.
I don't know. Let me see if I can have my Disney Plus.
Okay, I got eBay $26. That's not terrible.
Probably not logged in on the computer. Oh, I am. Let's see.
Okay.
Your Disney Plus plan will increase to $140 per year on your next billing cycle. Oh, great. Thank you.
You gotta be shitting me.
No.
Are you watching Ahsoka?
I don't know.
Okay.
Okay, so Scarecrow, nothing comes up. Doctor.
I've got it here on eBay.
Yeah, no, it's not on Disney Plus.
Got it.
Watch for the future where all that old stuff gets purged off of the app.
Absolutely. We had to be in the Disney Movie Club, it looks like, to get this Blu-ray.
Yeah, but you can buy them. Oh, you can buy it off eBay. That's how I got the DVD.
I see it on eBay here. I'm going to buy it.
Yeah. That's the one that I have.
Sounds cool as shit.
But for now, they have, I mean, like, I would, if you have, do you have the Disney Plus or not?
No, I don't.
Okay, because the Zorro stuff is definitely worth watching. Guy Williams, who was also the dad on Lost in Space, plays Zorro.
Got it.
It's just classic. There's a lot of stuff from that era. It's funny because like I didn't see a lot of that when I was a kid because I don't know if it was widely available or not. I think it was on the Disney Channel, but I don't know if we had that at the time. And you always associate Disney with this stupid kind of fairy tale princess thing and all that. And then there's plenty of like really good stuff, adventure stuff that they did back in the day. And it's like that was the idea, was to have Adventureland and Frontierland and then Fantasyland and the other stuff, Tomorrowland, and have all that kind of mesh together, Right. Nowadays it's just Marvel and Star Wars and remake every movie.
Well, I'm gonna watch Dr. Sin, the Amazing Scarecrow of Bombay or whatever the
Marsh,
fuck.
Mitt Romney Marsh.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there you
I
go.
was like, is this about Mitt Romney? Like,
It's his great grandfather.
maybe.
Um,
Oh, you have an idea here.
he's a blue
Maybe
blood.
For your dinner party, you can watch Tremors.
Oh, it's Matt. Hey, Matt. I've never seen Tremors. Sorry,
I have not seen it either. Sorry, embarrassed
Okay.
to say.
we failed the test.
How about Exorcist 3? Throw that on. That's from 1990.
I actually did just watch The Burning recently. I had my brother-in-law over. He spent the night, and we watched. I was like, let's watch The Burning, and he liked it.
Good.
Yeah.
Make them watch Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, a true horror movie.
Oh my god. Yeah, what a piece of shit.
Or
And I
what's the-
watched the Retro Blasting review, and I was a little let down by that.
he nitpicks on a lot, but it's
Nitpick to the fucking bone, dude.
but
The
that's
last
his-
30
that's
minutes
his
were
whole
good, but
shtick, though. I mean, that's his whole shtick. I
That's
love that
his
guy.
thing. That guy is a professional complainer, but in a good way. It's a positive.
Yes. The
Yeah.
only thing I would say is that it's like, I get it. Everything he's saying is correct. I don't disagree with the nitpicky stuff, and all the complaints are valid. I mean, you can still enjoy a movie even though it's not.
Yeah.
Good.
My problem is not that they had a plane in the movie that would be incongruous historically with I'm like, I don't give a
Yes,
shit, dude.
yes,
Like, come
yes.
on. Like,
And why would he
this
find
plane.
the Antikythera in here if he knew that it was also here instead? It's like, okay, like
Yeah.
there are bigger problems. Like
Yeah.
I agree. Actually, you made a good point about the Antonio Banderas character and all that. It's like he really did throw that guy to the wolves.
Yeah.
And didn't properly, warn him of the consequences of what was going on. That was a good point.
No.
And I agree. The thing about the diving and all that didn't make any sense. But again, it's like you can nitpick this to death, but there's so many bigger fish to fry with that movie. And I did not hate the movie. I can watch that.
I didn't hate it when I was watching it, but after it was over, I was kind of like
numb, right? It's just numbing.
Yeah. The point he made that I really like was he was like, Harrison Ford really is just like a big curmudgeonly asshole.
Yeah.
He
wants to. Harrison Ford is someone who wants to have his cake and eat it too. Yeah. He seems like he really hates this stuff. Like, and he does it for the paycheck, and he does it to he thinks he's gonna get adulation or something, but
thinks he's too cool to do it, but he wants to do it,
because everything else that he does doesn't succeed, hasn't succeeded for years. I mean, remember when you remember Cowboys and Aliens?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, remember that was going to be that was a total flop, and that was built on his name, plus Daniel Craig and
was Jon Favreau, the director of Iron Man.
Yeah,
right?
that movie sucked. I mean,
yeah, it was weak. But you know what I did watch this weekend actually too, was Sabrina, the Sidney Pollack remake of Sabrina with Harrison Ford, which is a movie that I really love.
Okay.
I've loved my whole life, and he's great in it.
Yeah, I need to watch more of it's Sidney Pollack, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I need to watch more of his stuff. Like I told you a while ago, I watched The Firm.
Yeah, Firm's great.
Amazing movie. And I wish we had more
Jeremiah Johnson.
I wish we had more movies like The Firm nowadays.
Exactly, absolutely. Or like The Rainmaker. Everyone was doing those lawyer movies back then.
Yeah. What happened to the John Grisham? John Grisham's still writing novels, It's like, but those are considered like TV level movies or, streaming level movies at this point. I guess there's no more TV movies.
Matt's dragging me for never seeing Tremors. Haven't seen Tremors, sorry.
The Changeling.
I've heard of that. Yeah, I haven't seen that one either.
What is
I've seen so much old goofy bullshit like the Manitow. But
I haven't watched
I cannot show anyone the fucking Manitow. It's so goddamn horrible. Unless we had like 10 beers.
Orca.
Actually, that's not a bad idea. Orca, yeah. I was thinking like you want to show them something like the Sentinel, but they'd be like, this is like boring, or like
Have you ever seen the? Oh God, this is one of
Or
the
like a
worst.
Dario Argento that's not Suspiria, but like Tenebrae maybe would be a
Oh
good
no.
one. But
I don't know who did this one. If it was Argento or Lucio Fulci, House by the Cemetery. Have you seen
that's
that?
Fulci. Yeah, yeah,
That's what is going on in this movie. Like,
yeah.
okay, we have to do a Giallo.
I
Like,
would love to do a Giallo one. That would be awesome. I actually have some Giallo comics that I bought when I was in
oh really?
Italy that are in Italian. I meant to like translate them on the Google or some shit, but I never got around to it. But I've got some, and I've got some, and then Diabolique, which is like the big character over there in Italy.
Okay.
Yeah, they did a Diabolique movie in the 70s.
Oh yeah, I
and
think
it
I
was,
saw that on your letterbox. Did you just watch that or something?
no, I have not seen it.
Oh,
It was
you
yeah,
watched something that had a name like that, but am I making that up?
maybe not. But yeah, it's directed by it's Mario. Oh, Mario Bava made it. Yeah, the Diabolique movie.
What is this?
Danger Diabolique.
What is Diabolique 1955 that you watched?
Oh, that's a French movie.
Okay, not related at all.
Yeah, but really good. And that was actually one that like Hitchcock saw it and was like, "Oh shit, I should do something like this." He talks about it a lot in terms of Psycho.
Are
He
you
saw that and was like, "Oh, you can push the boundaries." Yeah, Diabolique from the 50s. I think it's who's the director?
are you into all the French New Wave stuff or not?
Am I into it?
Yeah.
Not necessarily. There's a few that I like. I'm a big Francois Truffaut guy. I mean,
Okay.
not big, but as far as that goes, I prefer Truffaut to Godard.
Okay.
For sure. Like
I have Breathless on Blu-ray from Criterion, and I need to watch that.
I would watch Breathless. There's some really good stuff in there, especially like the Mr. Pavlesco scene, which is maybe one of my favorites. But like Truffaut, like Jules and Jim is really, really good. You know,
I feel like I need to watch a little bit more foreign stuff from the older films like Ingmar. I need to watch more Ingmar Bergman.
I really tried with Bergman. His best movie, in my opinion, is Through a Glass Darkly.
Oh, is it? Okay.
That one's really good. But like Summers with Monica was
I've
like
only seen Seven Seal. So
Seven Seal, it's all right. I mean, look, I sound like a total Philistine and an idiot saying that, but like, yeah, it didn't really resonate with me. I get it; it's very iconic, right?
Transformers. I'd rather watch Transformers, right?
Yeah. But no, I like Shoot the Piano Player by Truffaut. Band of Outsiders by Godard is not bad. You have to really watch them in context, know and realize that they were kind of like crazy and totally out there. With Godard, though, he just had a lot of nudity in his movies, and so like they were very titillating and interesting in America. Have you seen 8.5?
No, I have it though. As I said, for many movies, it's on my list. I have the Blu-ray from Criterion.
Yeah.
And,
you know what? I've always found Japanese movies to be more interesting.
Yeah, but I haven't seen many other than the kaiju films. So, I haven't seen like the real artistic stuff. Just the schlock from Toho.
No, you gotta watch like the cop stuff. You gotta watch like A Cult Is My Passport and Tokyo Drifter and Detective Bureau 2-3 Go to Hell Bastards with Joe Shishido. Like those are the best. All that stuff.
We should do like a foreign thing at some point too.
That'd be fun.
Like one from each country, famous director like French, Swedish, Italian, Japanese, or something like that.
Yeah, I think it'd be fun to.
Are foreign because they're British, but it's like equivalent,
right? Like, hold on. There's a word for these movies. I'm trying to think. I'm looking it up.
Artsy.
No. Like, these Japanese movies are just like cool cop movies. Like,
oh, okay. There's like a
genre
defining term or something.
Yeah, there's a genre term for what they're called. These there's a huge trend of like assassin or cop movies in the late 60s in Japan, and they're all really cool, and they're all pretty much inspired by like Bond. So it's like the guy is always like well dressed in a suit, fucking kills everybody with a silencer. He's like super bad. It's like they're really cool. They're not at all highfalutin or like pretentious. But
And then you're not super into or familiar with like the serials, like the movie serials from the 30s and 40s.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, I'm a little bit more into that. I started watching one, and then I didn't realize it was a Columbia one, and it was just super boring. It was Jack Armstrong. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
You had to give me a good one, man, because when I watch those, I'm sorry, but I just kind of like, I mean,
You
I
have
get
to
it, but
watch.
these are kind of boring.
You have to watch a Republic serial. That's the distinction. Is Republic was the studio that made the really high-end, good quality serials. And then I always end up with these Columbia ones, and they're dreadful. I mean, Columbia even made like Batman and Superman, and I some of those, and those are boring. I mean, have you ever tried to watch the Batman serials, those
I
Superman
think
ones?
maybe, and I was like, okay,
They're boring.
I get
Okay, Republic, the best ones are, for my money, Daredevils of the Red Circle. Amazing.
okay.
Amazing. And unfortunately, the Kino Blu-ray is out of print. I have it, but I'm so glad I bought that years ago.
Oh, cool.
And then Adventures of Captain Marvel is like top notch from Republic.
It's a badass title. Daredevils of the Red Circle.
Daredevils of the Red Circle. Oh, yeah, it's really, really good. It's super exciting, super fast paced, thrilling, moves at breakneck pace.
Sure.
That's what you want, not these slow plotting Jack Armstrong. Oh my God, I don't know what the hell they were doing in that. I watched 3 chapters and I was like, nothing has happened.
Can't handle it. All right, dude, I have to call it quits because I got to get up early tomorrow and drive for like 3 hours. So again, and then on Friday too.
Wow.
I've been rolling around. So.
Oh, The Offer. I have not watched it, but I've heard good things about that.
Oh, yeah, I haven't watched that either.
I've been watching.
I've read all those
Frasier
books
on
though, all
Paramount
those like new
Plus.
Hollywood books about. What's up?
I've been watching Frasier on Paramount Plus.
How's the new Frasier, dude?
I've been watching the old one. Sorry.
Okay. I just can't.
I don't have high hopes for the new one, but
well, allow me to send you another video by another maniac that's like 3 hours long.
Oh,
it's all about
you sent me that
Frasier.
one.
Oh, did I? Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what because you sent me that, my YouTube algorithm started sending me all Frasier stuff. And so
Nice.
Paramount had episodes of the original one for free on YouTube.
Oh, really?
So I just clicked on it and then I just went into the rabbit hole.
Yeah, we got triple N or whatever says there's a new one.
Yeah,
I assume referring to Frasier. Oof.
Everything they have to bring back, and I'm sure they'll
redo it.
I mean, Kelsey Grammer, if he has some degree of control as a producer, I don't know if he does or not. I imagine he must in order to get him to come back and do it. Maybe there will be some quality control, but none of the other cast is back, so it's all new cast besides.
Why
him.
do that? Yeah, I don't. Like
I don't
Frasier
know.
has to move in with his son. I'm like, oh, okay.
Is
How about
that- is it
Niles?
the premise?
Niles not around anymore. What?
He's not in the new show, and neither is is Daphne or the father died in real life, unfortunately.
Right.
But the Roz and Daphne and Niles, yeah, I mean,
Just
I
bring
don't
them
know.
back. Just have it be in the same place.
I know, but
I liked his
maybe
apartment
we
a
don't.
lot.
Maybe how about do something new?
I like Frasier's apartment.
Now, yeah, Frasier's apartment is like the pinnacle.
dope.
Because I know we have the discussion about the aesthetics. That is like the pinnacle of beautiful '90s aesthetic.
100%.
I mean, that is like I want to live in a place like that. Like,
So Sabrina, the Sidney Pollack Sabrina is like the perfect 90s like aesthetic. Terrific.
okay, I have to check that out again.
Please do.
Oh, he's been watching Seinfeld chronologically. Kramer Jack, yes. And now they're talking about there's rumors that they're going to bring back Seinfeld.
Get the fuck out of here. You can't do it.
No, just don't wreck it, please. Seinfeld cannot exist in this day and age.
They can't.
With the things that they did.
No.
Just like The Office. The Office can't exist. And they talk about bringing back The Office, which is newer than Seinfeld, but like
Do
even
something
still,
now.
the level of comedy there is no comedy anymore. I mean,
no. It's on memes.
yeah, but I don't know. I don't find that funny.
You don't find memes funny?
Not really.
You haven't seen the right memes, bro.
I don't just.
We start
I
sending
don't
you some good memes.
encapsulate like. I don't know. You know, Elaine's. I thought Jerry was the one who was actually making the intonation or I don't know, implying.
Oh, really?
That it's coming back. That's from.
Maybe we'll bring it back.
I don't know. I hope he holds his ground and doesn't do it.
Maybe we'll do it again.
Yeah, maybe. You know, if they pay me enough money, you know.
Pay me more money.
Elaine apparently didn't know anything about it, but Jerry was the one I thought that I read an article saying that he was.
Well, here's what happens. They interview him. They go, "Would you ever do Seinfeld again?" And he says, "Never say never," and then just start running.
Maybe.
Seinfeld's coming
Usually
back.
he says no. Usually he just says like no, flat out no.
Yeah. All right, brother.
Oh, well, just to end on that, but I just said, is Michael Richards going to be allowed to come back if they do a Seinfeld reunion?
They bring him back for the Curb Your Enthusiasm reunion after?
Was that after he got canceled?
Yeah, it was.
Okay, well then maybe they can. I don't know.
R.I.P. Michael Richards. Until then, drink the filth. You drink it.
Don't insult the master.
Don't insult the
Drink,
master.
damn you drink.
Great stuff. You drink it.
Okay. Is a week going 2 weeks? Or are we doing next week?
What would be? Let me look at my calendar here real quick. Oh. Ooh. Maybe we could go. Boy, yeah, Halloween's on a Tuesday. I feel like we have to do it on next Wednesday, but boy, that gets pretty tight, doesn't it?
What about the 30th?
I could do
Monday?
that. Yeah, I could do Monday.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Do Monday the
yeah.
30th.
Totally.
Okay. Let me know.
Yeah, I could do
All
that.
right.
Good night, everybody. Thanks for coming out.
In the chat. Yeah, we had a good turnout tonight.
We did have a good turnout tonight.
Yeah.
All
right.
Fun. It's always good to have a little audience there. All right, brother. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Have a good night. Thanks,
Cheers,
everyone.
everybody.